We are very pleased to welcome you to participate in our smoke offering ceremony to Mother Buddha Kurukula today. Of course, we are also very pleased that, despite the impact of the pandemic, we can still continue our Dharma promoting activities by teaching Dharma to benefit all of you, and by doing smoke offerings to plant some large-scale virtuous merits for you. These are all due to advancements in today's science, which allows us to have this blessing. This merit has been accumulated by all of us together. Today is a bit different from the past, because we are not doing a live broadcast at the association, but at our home, but this will not affect our smoke offering ceremony. Because at the association, there are already many of our disciples, as volunteers, they are doing smoke and lamp offerings to dedicate merits to the memorial tablets for you. There is also a large platform at our association, where we can hang prayer banners, langtas. In fact, we hang all these prayer banners in the hope of subsiding this pandemic. Therefore, all merits will be carried out as usual. Before performing the smoke offering, I will first teach some Dharma. In order to prevent those smokes from affecting my speech sometimes, we used to start the official smoking offering after the Dharma teaching finished. But this time, we are doing smoke offering and giving a Dharma teaching at different venues. Therefore, the smoke offering has already started officially at the association. That is, the smoke offering is ongoing while I am speaking. After I finish the lecture, we will perform Dharma practice the smoke offering rituals, and pray to Buddhas and Bodhisattvas to bless us. Nothing will be affected. Why? As I explained before, when you perform a smoke offering, you have to do it outdoors and shut the windows. You must not inhale the smoke yourself. We cannot inhale the smoke, as inhaling too much will affect our lungs. So, it does not matter where you perform smoke offering. Of course, you have to do it and we do it. We do it at the association. When we practice the Dharma, we need to use visualization to request all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas to come and bless us. So it does not affect our smoke offering. You do not need to think that one must perform visualization of Dharma practice right next to the smoke offering stove at the venue. There is no such need. Because the power of visualization has no bounds or limits, smoke offering also has no bounds and limits. Through the power of visualization, one can make offerings to the 4 heavenly kings, and even up to the refuge tree above, that is, the highest level of Akanistha. Why? The reason is given clearly in Suvaprabhasa Sutram Sutra, the Sutra of Golden Light. It does not matter where you do the smoke offering and how small your stove is. The smoke can reach, through your visualization, which has no boundaries and limits, the highest level of the heavenly realms. You can refer to the Sutra of Golden Light, which I have mentioned before. You will understand that in fact our Dharma ceremony will not be affected. Your prayer for blessings from the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas will be achieved through the power of visualization, that is the power of everything comes from the mind, so that your offerings can reach all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. So, you do not need to worry. From the screen, you will see video clips of, for example, prayer banners hanging at our large platform, scenes of smoke offerings, or scenes of lamp offerings for the memorial tablets. You can see all that on the screen. So no need to worry. We will continue to recite names to dedicate merits to all meritorious benefactors, after the end of the Dharma event. We are now officially starting our Dharma event. We will explain some Buddhist holy Dharma first. We will continue with the 26th lecture, on the visualization practice of compassion and bodhicitta. Today's topic is, what method can be used to resolve large-scale evil retribution? This is very important, especially with the pandemic now, which I think you all know. It is affecting the whole world. Can you tell how massive it is? And it is developing very rapidly. So, what methods do we have in our Dharma practice that help us to resolve these large-scale evil retributions? This is the focus of today's talk. We will use the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni's case, as well as the Diamond Sutra, to explain how we can apply these practice methods and oral pith instructions in our daily life and combine them with some mind training procedures to achieve success of our Dharma practice and let us liberate from samsara and even attain Buddhahood. Why is there always a method in the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni's case to resolve large-scale evil retributions? There is, of course. We will talk about this today. That is, under such circumstances, what method did the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni use to resolve these cases? We can learn from him. Okay. Let's first do some revisions. When we taught the 24th and the 25th lectures of the Compassion series, we mentioned some main points of this case. The case comes from the 6th chapter of the Sutra of the Buddha speaking of the cause and effect of the foot stabbed by the wooden spear, the upper volume of the Great Chronicle of Buddhas, also known as the Sutra of the Cause and Condition of the Stern Admonition, Mahabuddhavamsa. Let's take a look at the main points of this case. Firstly, when the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni was going to every house in the city to seek alms, eventually, at one place he met a wooden block that measured about 1 foot 2 inches long standing in front of him, and the wooden block was constantly chasing him as well. As a result, the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni ascended from the human realm to the Brahma. The Brahma is the lowest level of the heavens of the form realm, where the material structure is of low density. However, the wooden block could still follow him without giving up. Later, the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni descended from the Brahma to the human realm, but at each level, he repeatedly taught this Dharma of past conditions to the local sentient beings. In the heaven of 4 heavenly kings, the 4 heavenly kings and some heavenly beings were discussing why the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni was so afraid of this piece of wood that he had to fly up to the heavenly realms to escape. He even flew to so many levels higher than us to escape. They were all very confused. After that, in his room, the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni stretched out his right foot and let this piece of wood penetrate the sole of his foot. The pain was so severe that he almost fainted. After penetrating the Buddha's foot, this piece of wood went straight into the ground, passed through groundwater, and then reached the big flame at the core of the earth, before being burned to ashes. When King Ajatashatru visited the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni, he asked Buddha Shakyamuni, "Why can your body, a Vajra body, be harmed by a piece of wood?" The Lord Buddha Shakyamuni replied, "The Vajra body itself is impossible to be harmed by the wooden block. It is the result of the correspondence of past conditions. That is, it was caused by the correspondence of the cause and conditions of countless past lifetimes. You must pay attention to this correspondence. In fact, for all our resolutions, be it a resolution of cause and effect, be it to enable us to escape from samsara, after resolution, there is a crucial oral pith instruction. What is it? It is correspondence. If you translate it into vernacular, it is response. In fact, all causes and effects have a correspondence. If you correspond to it, you can resolve it. If you fail to correspond, whether on the aspects of quality, quantity, or level, then you cannot resolve it. Or if you are only able to resolve 20% or 40%, it is because you fail to correspond 100%. As a result, you cannot resolve it. That is, correspondence and response are the crucial oral pith instructions, which we will talk about later. What followed was that late at night, 7 goddesses came to visit the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni. They praised the Buddha and shared their views. They received the acquiescence from the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni. The next morning, the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni finally revealed the cause of his injury to people. Before innumerable Asamkhya Kalpa, an Asamkhya Kalpa is a very long time. Innumerable Asamkhya Kalpa means a countless long period of time. At the time, there were 2 trading teams, each with a few hundred people. They formed a joint venture, rented or purchased boats, and sailed to an island full of treasures and pleasures. After landing, the leader of the first trade team persuaded the team members, "Wow! There is everything here. We might as well stay on this treasure island and enjoy it. The leader of the second trade team advised his team members and said, "You should remember not to be attached to staying on this treasure island, to enjoy all the happiness, and forget your family." Suddenly, they heard from a very kind goddess who knew that after 7 days, this treasure island would be flooded. They heard this kind goddess giving this warning in the air. It turned out that this goddess did not want the two business groups, because of their greed for these pleasures, to stay on the treasure island and drown. So, she sent out a voice message in the air to advise them, "There will be a flood of water here. You have to leave quickly." But there was another witch with a vicious heart, who really wanted these two groups to be drowned. So, she gave an opposite statement in the air. She said, "What the previous goddess said is untrue. She advised you not to stay on the treasure island. Don't listen to her. You should stay on the treasure island, because it's so happy here. Why don't you stay? All she said is not true." Subsequently, the leader of the first team persuaded his team members and said, "It's so difficult for you to find such a happy place. Of course, you should indulge yourself in these pleasures. I'd rather not to believe the warning that there'll be flood here. There is no need for you to prepare any supplies for departure. Otherwise, wouldn't you be fooled by others?" He advised his team members not to listen. You will find that the leader of the second trade group is much more rational. He said, "You should focus on your home and the family in your hometown. You should have left promptly. Now that you've been warned, you can only stay for a short time. If you are really reluctant, you can play for a few more days. But you also have to fully prepare all the supplies you need on board. So, when the flood comes, you're ready to go. If the flood doesn't come with the first message isn't true, it doesn't matter either. You're going to leave anyway. You have to prepare the onboard supplies anyway. There is no need to worry that the supplies would perish, because we originally planned to leave anyway. It's okay for us to leave when the flood does come." He was persuading his team members like this. In the end, the flood did come. The first team leader was unprepared. It's not going well. They were going to die. What could they do? They go rob the other ship. So, he led all the team members to attack the ship of the second trade group, hoping to snatch the ship that was full of supplies, and could cross the sea to take them back to their hometown. As their ship had no supplies, they were afraid of starving to death or dying of thirst in the sea. The only option was to rob the ship. The leader of the second trade group led his team members to fight against them with weapons. In the end, the leader of the second trade group threw a long spear, stabbing through the sole of the first trade group leader's foot, causing him to die instantly. The Lord Buddha Shakyamuni frankly confessed his mistakes back then. He said, "I tell you the truth now. The leader of the first trade group is Devadatta now. Devadatta, we have already described him in detail in the previous lectures of the Compassion series. He was, in fact, a disciple of the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni. In order to seize the position of the group master, he kept attacking and even wanted to murder the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni due to causes and conditions. Why did he often go against the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni? Why did he want to take down the Buddhist group that the Buddha set up to save sentient beings? The purpose was to take revenge. The fact is that lots of hatred had been accumulated countless lifetimes ago, not in one lifetime, but in many lifetimes a life debt was owed, which led to such a situation. So, the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni said, "This leader is actually the current Devadatta. The reason for his rebellion is because of this." He said, and the leader of the second trade group was the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni now. It was me. The Lord Buddha Shakyamuni confessed frankly to everyone the mistakes he had made back then. It was a public confession. The leader of the first trade group led several hundred team members. These 100 team members were actually the disciples of Devadatta. Devadatta set up a group of his own in order to overthrow the Buddha. Of course, he self-claimed to be a Buddhist group to fight against the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni's group. The disciples who followed Devadatta were actually members of the first trade group in countless Asamkhya Kalpa ago. The hundreds of members of the second trade group, who were now arahants, were disciples of the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni's Buddhist group. In other words, members of the second group were very lucky, because they followed the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni. So, in the end, all of them attained arahantship. What is the attainment of arahantship? They can liberate from samsara, and go to the 5 heavens of non-returning, which is the 5 highest levels of the heavens of the form realm. That is, they will not come back to suffer, and will be liberated from samsara. And the goddess who issued the warning at that time, that was the first kind goddess. Who was she? It was now Shariputra, one of the 10 principal disciples of the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni. His wisdom was second to none. The witch who sent out the false news at that time was Bhikshu's full moon, a disciple of the current Brahmin. Since the leader of the second team then, the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni now, had committed these evil causes, so he had to suffer the following retributions, and he was still suffering. That is countless thousands of years. That is, each unit is counted as 1,000 years. There were countless thousands of years. How long was it exactly? It was over hundreds of millions of years, and countless years and lifetimes under geometric calculation. The Lord Buddha Shakyamuni ended up suffering in hell for such a long time. He said, what did he suffer in hell? There were countless thousands of times, that is, in units of thousands, countless thousands of times he was stabbed by a spear. That was not the end. After suffering in hell ended, he had to be reborn in the realm of animals, where he went through countless thousands of years, uncountable numbers of years, in units of thousands of years of suffering. How was it every time? He was shot dead by people. After the suffering in the realm of animals finished, he had to be reborn in the realm of hungry ghosts, and went through thousands of years. Again, using 1,000 years as a unit, he went through countless times of 1,000 years there. In the realm of hungry ghosts, he was forced to climb up some trees where many iron cones kept stabbing him while he was climbing up. That kind of pain was indescribable. The Lord Buddha Shakyamuni said, although I've now become a Buddha with a Vajra body and I've finished suffering from all the retributions, I still have to suffer the residual disaster. A residual disaster means the remaining karmic retributions, which are karmic retributions left behind like a tail. I still have to be stabbed by the wooden spear this time. I had to be stabbed by this wooden block. Such pain is nothing but a residual disaster. Finally, the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni warned his disciples, all disciples, you must remember. If I've attained Buddhahood with a diamond indestructible body, that diamond indestructible body, as I said in the previous lecture, it does not mean your physical body. Means the awareness of your body or the awareness of the perfect enlightenment. What we think that our material body in a dualistic or multiplistic state can be destroyed so that it will lead to our awareness, or the Vajra body be destroyed too, is wrong. It will not. So he said, even my awareness of perfect enlightenment has not been destroyed, but I still have to suffer these retributions. My material body still has to suffer from the pain of being stabbed by the wooden spear. Since this is the case, you must know that karma is that terrible and frightening. So you, all Dharma practitioners and all sentient beings must remember that you must guard your body, speech and mind. Don't let these 3, body, speech and mind, commit any bad cause and effect. Otherwise, you will suffer a lot. We explained some issues in the last lecture, and will continue to explain another issue today. The question is why the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni did not directly suffer this retribution in the human world, but ascended to so many heavens, even went up one by one and alarmed most of the heavenly beings. Do you know? Every time he went one level up, those heavenly beings would say, the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni is here. Why does he come up here? Because he's being chased for debt. He's being chased by a piece of wood to stab him, so he now has to come up here to avoid it. There was such a misunderstanding. While he was ascending, why did he go up one level after another gradually? Did he do that because he was afraid of that piece of wood after all? Or was there another reason? If so, he should have flown faster than a rocket and immediately gone to the highest level of heavenly realms, not going up one by one to the lower level of heavenly realms before the higher level of heavenly realms. He should have not done that. The most interesting thing is that he actually ascended one level after another and in sections. How could this be considered as taking refuge? How could it be the form of refuge mentioned by the four heavenly kings and other heavenly beings? Why was he ascending level by level in small sections? Let's see how small it was. Small means that he went up by one ren, that is, 7 feet, 7 feet in our human realm, and once he reached 7 feet, then another 7 feet, and then a third 7 feet, and then a fourth 7 feet, until the seventh 7 feet. He stopped after going up 7 feet, waiting for the wooden block, to see whether it would follow and stand in front of him. You can see how meticulous the situation was. Was it like fleeing from calamity? If it was fleeing, the speed would be faster than a rocket. But he was very slow. Later, he rose by one Doro, which was a palm tree in ancient times. One tree was 30 meters high. Then he rose by 30 meters, and then rose to the height of 2 Doros, and then 3 Doros. He would stop every time he rose 1 Doro and wait for that piece of wood. He was waiting. How would anyone wait for the creditor to slowly come after him? Of course not. He was actually waiting from 4 Doros to 7 Doros. Later, he rose in miles, from 7 miles to 10 miles. Then in yojana, which is equal to 11.2 kilometers, he went up by 7 yojanas, each of which was step by step, from 1 to 2 yojanas, then 3 yojanas, all the way up to 7th yojanas. He was ascending step by step. You can watch the 24th lecture of the Visualization Practice of Compassion and Bodhicitta series for details. Actually, the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni wanted to do a test. What did he want to test? It was to test the upward momentum of the wooden block instigated by resentment accumulated over many lifetimes. That is, how high could its energy go? Secondly, he wanted to test whether this block of wood had a high-level vertical tracking power. I can tell you that the tracking of karma is really like a magnet, but even if it is like a magnet, there is a difference between straight-line tracking and curve tracking. It is different. That is, grievance has many levels, and within which there are different intelligent effects. On that day when this resentment was formed, was the type of resentment an intelligent program accumulated in a straight line, or a curved one? And in terms of the width and depth of the intelligence it possessed, how broad and how big was it? In fact, it was different. It should say that each karmic force, or karmic creditor tracking you has different level of intelligence and abilities. So, sometimes, as you all know, The Art of War by Sun Tzu said, "Know yourself and know your enemy, so you can win every battle you fight." How can you overcome the pursuit of the karma, to save your life, to continue your Dharma practice, or to spread the Dharma to save sentient beings? Same with the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni. Although he had become a Buddha, there was no problem for him to leave at any time. He could enter the Dharma realm with no problem at all. But sentient beings would be greatly affected. If he left before he finished teaching the Dharma he planned to teach, then there would be many things missing in the human realm in the future, and everything would be imperfect. No one would attain Buddhahood, or be able to liberate from samsara. The better ones would go to the heavenly realms at best. That would be miserable. Therefore, the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni was like Sun Tzu's Art of War. I go up one level after another so I can slowly pursue the depth of the energy and intelligence of that resentment following me now. After knowing it, he could decide how to deal with it. Wasn't it better like that? Of course, it was. Sun Tzu taught the same in The Art of Wars. But of course, the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni's wisdom was far higher than Sun Tzu's art of war. There were countless levels, and what he saw was much broader. So, he must test this resentment. There are of straight lines and curves. Let's take a look now. He wanted to show all sentient beings one more thing. How inconceivable karma is. It is beyond your imagination. You cannot understand it through discussion or analyze. It is profound and hard to imagine. It can neither be resolved by supernatural powers, nor can be eliminated by supernatural powers. The Lord Buddha Shakyamuni has personally demonstrated it to you once. Okay. Let's take a look. From 1 ren, or 7 feet, or even up to 7 doros, the process can still have a chance to be seen by some human eyes. At most, the farther it was, the hazier it was, but you may see a little bit of it, although not very clear. This is the reason why the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni ascended gradually level by level. He hoped that in this process, the majority of karma's development, tracking, and capabilities, which are visible to the naked eye, could be clearly viewed by sentient beings. So he went up level by level, step by step. If he flew too fast and disappeared all of a sudden, people in the human realm would say, the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni is indeed a Buddha. He's really powerful, and can avoid the wooden block by supernatural powers. But they would never know what happened after that. Then how could he make it known to sentient beings? The abilities of sentient beings are very limited. They can only see with their naked eyes. At that time, there were no magnifying glasses or telescopes. Not at all. What could be done? That was to go up level by level, 7 feet by 7 feet. Like this, people would be able to see it. It is impossible for sentient beings unable to see it, as he was going up step by step when being chased by the wooden block. Can't you see that kind of magnet power? And you will find that it is in a straight line. What is straight line tracking? The Lord Buddha Shakyamuni ascended in a straight line. He did not go up by 7 feet, and he suddenly turned or changed the direction, position, or degree for the next 7 feet. It was not like this. He went up in a straight line. Why were they all in straight lines? It was to test how strong the wooden block's straight line tracking ability was. This is straight line tracking. If it only knew straight line tracking, not curve tracking, we actually have many ways to avoid this karma tracing. This is one of the tests. Well, there were many disciples with supernatural powers. Many of the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni's disciples had attained arhat with supernatural powers. They could see things from far away. In fact, they could see things that were very far away in the heavenly realms, as long as they concentrated on their mediational power. So, the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni, as you can see, kept going up to a height of 7 yojanas, that is, 7 times 11.2 kilometers. He kept going up step by step. Whom exactly did he want to show? It was to show those disciples with supernatural powers, to let them see that even with supernatural powers, he was still being chased by it despite he had already ascended such a high level. There were also many capable sentient beings in the spiritual realm who could see it. They would feel that this was incredible. How dare you to chase the Buddha and get so far? It was to show them. Okay, this was for sentient beings to see with their own eyes how karma works. Later, the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni took further tests. What were the tests? He used his own supernatural powers to consolidate some substances and transformed himself into something very hard. We call it earth, a very hard material, a piece of bluestone. This bluestone was 6 yojanas in thickness, and 12 yojanas across in width. He wanted to see if this piece of wood had enough energy to pass through this piece of bluestone. Later, he also transformed himself into water, which was also 12 yojanas in length and width, and 6 yojanas in depth. He also wanted to see whether this piece of wood knew how to swim. Later, he transformed himself into a big fire, with 12 yojanas vertically and horizontally, and 6 yojanas high, again to see whether this piece of wood could resist being surrounded by such high energy. Later, he turned into a whirlwind, a tornado of 12 yojanas in length and width, and 6 yojanas in height, to see whether this piece of wood knew how to avoid things with higher energy than this piece of wood itself and whether it had such an intelligence. Take a look at this. What did the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni want to test exactly? First, how strong the attacking power of that piece of wood was. It is because if an obstacle is blocking the way, whether karma would stop because of this obstacle. Did this piece of wood possess agile curve tracking intelligence, and did it avoid the difficult path and choose an easy way out? What is curve tracking? The meaning of curve tracking is not to go straight up, but for avoidance, change to another position and go up from there. Secondly, it did not simply for avoidance, went up in another direction, but on the aspect of energy whether it would sense a stronger energy than it. If it had rushed into the whirlwind blindly and senselessly, it would have been swept away by the whirlwind and failed to take its revenge. But could it detect that this whirlwind was stronger than itself? So it was thinking not to have direct confrontation, but to avoid it. If you go back to watch the last session, the 24th lecture, you will see that the piece of wood could not only pass through hard stones, but also swim and resist the energy of burning fire. Later, it realized that through testing, it could not fight against the whirlwind as the power of the whirlwind would pull it away. So, it simply turned around and chased the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni obliquely, avoiding the whirlwind. In other words, it understood curve tracking. In addition, it also had a perception intelligence inside, and through testing it could perceive and detect if the enemy's energy was stronger than its own, and adopt this avoidance approach. The Lord Buddha Shakyamuni really wanted to test this piece of wood, the karma of resentment, to see if it could completely defeat the energy, protection, net formed by the Buddha's mind power. In particular, as you all know, as Dharma practitioners, each of us, especially if you are an esoteric Buddhist practitioner, who practice deep-level Dharma essence, you will get to a certain level. That level is how you use the ability of your own mind to consolidate some substances in the environment into a protective net to protect yourself. There are usually two types. One is mundane. Mundane is what we see now. In this way, I can find a house with many doors and lock myself in there. There is only one window, that people can deliver food to me through it. No one can enter it. This is a kind of ability that you use in the human realm. This is something that everyone knows. As long as you have the resources, you should be able to do it. But what if the attack is from the spiritual realm, such as those attacks of karma? When you are practicing the holy Dharma, a lot of times, you may often visualize or recite something using meditative concentration. You may also be in a meditative state, or doing some higher-level meditational power training. That is when you are least protected and are the weakest. It is also the time your karmic creditors are ready to attack you, right? They will attack you when you have the no precaution, so that you not only fail in your Dharma practice, but also lose your life, or even be caught by them for revenge. So usually, we as Dharma practitioners, particularly esoteric Buddhist practitioners, know very clearly about retreat. Having a retreat in a cave does not simply mean blocking the entrance of the cave for you to be confined. You can then practice the Dharma when you have enough food and water. It is not that simple. You still need to practice one set of Dharma practice ritual by yourself, and use your own mental strength to consolidate some substances to form an energy protection net. To protect what? It is to protect you from attacks of the spiritual realm from entering you and harming you. This is a very important step. All of us as Dharma practitioners should know if we need to have a retreat. Alright, the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni was not having a retreat now, but avoiding the karmic creditors to track him down. He could also use this protection net. So, you can see that the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni was using this energy, protection, net, which was clearly written in sutras. Any Dharma practitioner who has yet to know the need to do this should take a look at this sutra by the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni. Even the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni had to do this. So why don't you learn it? Why do you think it is unnecessary? Even the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni needed it. Why do you think you do not need it? So, do not say that esoteric Buddhism is not good. It is very good. It follows the Buddha's methods. Do not criticize it carelessly. Let's now take a look. Why did the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni do this? Of course, he also did it for all sentient beings to see. You take a look. Some of you who are capable should be able to see it. Those who are less capable will not be able to see what is happening now, while those who are capable and have supernatural powers should be able to see it. I have exhausted all avenues. I'm using all my energy to create the protection net, but still can't avoid the tracking of this karma. Just to show you how terrifying the operation of karma is. In other words, the karmic tracking can compete by avoiding the energy stronger than it, including the energy protection nets created by Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Karma will compete with it and even succeed. Now karma has succeeded. That wooden block could continue to chase the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni without letting go. Even the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni could not avoid it. Even Buddha Shakyamuni could not avoid it. Why do you ordinary sentient beings think you can? If you think clearly, you will know you need to practice the Dharma quickly. Only if you can enter the state of oneness, then you can really avoid it. Even the Buddha could not avoid it in the dualistic or multiplistic state. The Buddha knew how to enter the state of oneness, which is the Dharma realm. You do not know how. This is not good. Okay, let's take a look now. What exactly is using the mind power to create substances that Guru you just mentioned? In fact, these substances must be the most primitive ones. Why use the most primitive ones? It is like building blocks. I will definitely find some broken blocks and small pieces of building blocks, so I can slowly build up different shapes and different things. If I am given a big piece of wood, how can I build it? There is only one piece of wood. There is only one big piece of wood no matter how I build it. I have to break this piece of wood into numerous pieces of wood with different shapes, so that I can build things with different shapes, and things I want to build in my mind. Therefore, when making this energy protection net, you must remember to start building with the most primitive and basic substances. No one is so silly to find a big piece of wood, a big rock, a big bucket of water, a big fire, and a big fan to make it. It will not be like that. It will not. What do I use? The finest, the most basic elements are earth, water, fire, and wind, which are the most basic elements that form the energy protection net in the universe. Therefore, many Dharma practitioners will use these basic elements to tie off the territory in the process of Dharma practice. The protection method of this energy protection net is called tie off the territory. We form a territory to protect ourselves. This is called tie off the territory method, which acts as a protection net to protect one's own Dharma practice. If this energy protection net can be broken, it means that there is no more energy protection net that can withstand karma, especially some karma attacks with heavy resentment. So sometimes, some Dharma practitioners would say, why not? I have practiced some Dharma methods to avoid things. That is because the energy accumulated by the resentment is not strong enough. And it so happens that you are stronger than it, so you succeed. But if this is a kind of resentment accumulated through innumerable asamkhya kalpa, and it is a kind of energy accumulated in different, parallel universes, you will find that even the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni could not avoid it. This means that the ultimate truth is that in the world of dualistic or multiplistic state, regardless of what energy, or any person, or any sentient being, or even Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, it is impossible for them to escape the attack and tracking of karma. This is the truth. If you succeed once, it does not represent a whole situation. In fact, you are fortunate to be stronger than the force that is chasing you. That is why you can succeed. But for the real karma, as the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni demonstrated clearly to you in the case, you should not have deluded thinking that you can use any ability accumulated in a dualistic or multiplistic state to resist karma. It will not be successful. Another thing is that due to the influence of parallel universes, you are wrong to think that it is over after repelling the pursuit of karma with the Dharma method you practice today. In fact, this kind of karma is just temporarily retreated. It has not disappeared. It definitely has not disappeared. Did you push it into the core of the earth? Was it burned in the fire and did you watch it turn into ashes? No, not at all. It looks like it has ended. It stops chasing you. But it is merely a temporary retreat and hiding away, because its energy is not stronger than yours. It will continue to accumulating in different positions of this parallel universe. After it has gathered enough energy to be stronger than you, it will reappear. That is, do not deceive yourself and think that you are incredible, because you know Dharma practice, you know that deity and you also know how to practice a certain Dharma practice ritual. So you have repelled the karma. You are wrong. You have not repelled it. You definitely have not repelled it. It is only temporarily hidden. So, remember the operating principle of the real karma. There is only one principle, that is, there is no force that can resolve the karma. This is the inconceivable law of karma. Do not think you can resolve it. There is only one resolution. What is it? You can practice the holy Dharma until you become a Buddha and enter the state of oneness. Then, it cannot catch up with you. If you continue to stay in the dualistic or multiplistic state, do not think you can escape. You may say, no worries. I can go to the 5 heavens of non-returning of the form realm, and become an arahant to avoid it. But this is still a dualistic or multiplistic state. It does not have to be the state of oneness to avoid it. That is right. But you should not come out from the dualistic or multiplistic state. Never come out. If you know how to enter the state of oneness, you can enter the dualistic or multiplistic state from the state of oneness at any time, and later enter the state of oneness again in the future. You can go back and forth countless times with no problem. However, if you enter the dualistic or multiplistic state, for example after you die, even if you have become an arahant, your physical body will still have to bear the consequential retributions. After you die, then you can enter and be liberated from samsara, in the 5 heavens of non-returning. You should be very happy, right? However, you should not come out again. You should never come out. When you come out, the karma has already accumulated to become extremely strong, because you have hidden away from it for a long time. In terms of space and time, it has only been a short while for you to be hiding there, but it has been a long time outside. The moment you come out, it will definitely make it impossible for you to enter again. Do not think that you have become an arahant, and there is no need for you to be afraid. In other words, if you want to completely liberate yourself from this state of samsara, you should not use this method, as if you want to avoid that karma, but trap yourself. You must be able to achieve perfect enlightenment and become a Buddha before you can enter the state of oneness. This is the most thorough approach. Okay. Let's take a look now. What Dharma do we practice to consolidate some substances? I can only tell you some basics. The first basic is that the substances you consolidate must be the most primitive ones, that is, earth, water, fire, and wind. It cannot be things that have already been aggregated. If this is the case, it will be inflexible, with lots of restrictions in it. You do not know how to change formation. Not knowing how to change formation will be like this. Okay. What does our Earth stand for? Hard substances. It is some hardened substances binding together. What is water? Soft substances, some soft substances binding together. What is fire? It is yang positive energy, a stream of substance with low density. What does wind represent? It is yin negative energy, some flowing substances with low density. Please note that I used a square, a yellow box to represent earth, a white one which is without the red edge. This is because I cannot create a visible white edge. Otherwise, you will not be able to see the circle. So, in fact, it does not have a red edge. It is a white wheel to represent the water. There is a red wheel. The round wheel represents the fire. The one that looks like a green flag represents the wind. These four symbolic patterns are actually some material symbols that we use when have to do visualization, to practice, tie off the territory, and to do deep visualizations. These visualizations are expressed by using these colors and graphics. How exactly do we use these four basic substances? As I said just now, it is to use your mind. Mental strength, what is it? Let's take a look now. Earth, water, fire, wind are the most primitive elements that make up all substances in the universe. We want to use it, that is, to use it, put an emptiness in the middle. What does emptiness mean? Mental strength can actually have strong abilities to control many substances, provided you can let the mental strength enter into a state of emptiness. The question is whether you can enter into it. If you do not enter the state of emptiness, you will have many limitations. These limitations will make you unable to operate water when you operate earth, unable to operate fire when you operate water, or unable to operate wind when you operate fire. There is always something obstructing you. Why? Because there are many limitations in your thinking, so you have a lot of limitations. You cannot connect these four substances. It is that simple. How can I use them, then? Emptiness. Is it possible? What is the mind, the nature of the mind? Originally, it was empty. What do you see in your mind? The mind does not mean the heart. In Chinese, both mind and heart share the same word. It refers to your mental strength, which is invisible. But what is it exactly? It is the awareness. If you use emptiness to activate a kind of your awareness, even if your awareness has not reached 100% of perfect enlightenment, you already have a certain ability, as long as you can activate it. It is intangible. What can it do? It is a creator who can form and control these four most primitive elements. That is, everything comes from the mind. And everything comes from the mind does not come from an ordinary mind. That mind has to be combined with emptiness to achieve these things without obstacles. That is why emptiness is so important. Whether you want to become a Buddha, to enter a state of oneness, or protect yourself in a dualistic or multiplistic state, you have to rely on emptiness, or awareness. Then it depends on your level of awareness, and how many points you have scored. Well, let's take a look now. If you know how to train the awareness, represented by emptiness, it can actually enter the Dharma realm's state of oneness, that is, to become a Buddha. It can also freely combine substances, and make some self-protection, in a dualistic or multiplistic state. These are some of the training in esoteric Buddhist practice. The training of emptiness neither existence nor voidness, aims to enter the state of oneness. It is called emptiness, neither existence nor voidness. If you are to connect some substances in a dualistic or multiplistic state, we call it the training with forms. But there is a principle that being with forms must work with another element called non-attachment. This is what the Diamond Sutra refers to, not to abide in notions. Your training with forms must be done in conjunction with no abiding in notions. Otherwise, you will be in trouble. You will be caught in your own trap and be sent to hell eventually. You were not supposed to go, but pushed down by yourself. What is called with forms? What is without forms? Because emptiness means no forms, and no forms mean that there is no shape, no image, no pattern, or nothing to be visualized, completely nothing. Then, it is called no forms. What is left? An awareness in it. It is empty. You will not see any form, but it does not mean non-existence. What is with forms? With forms means having an image, a picture, or a thought. For example, in the first step, I want to recite a mantra with a sound. I want to recite Amitabha with a sound. The sound must be regularized on the holy name of the Buddha. These are called with forms. Or I want to visualize the image of a Buddha Amitabha. This is called with forms. You may disagree. I don't really have a statue of Buddha Amitabha, nor does Buddha Amitabha appear in front of me. He only came out from my visualization. Is that called with forms? Of course. Because you have specifications. This is the eye. This is the ear. This is the nose. You have specifications for all those things. So, it is called with forms. Anything that is specified is called with forms. So, with forms does not just refer to substances. So, we must remember that the earth itself is resilient. That is when we consolidate some substances into a solid material, such as the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni came up with a large piece of bluestone. When the karma attacks it, the earth itself has a rebound force. That is when you visualize this earth. It is not as rigid as if someone could pierce through it with a hammer. In fact, this earth has to be visualized to have a kind of intelligence, a kind of rebound force, which can bounce off. When someone hammers on it, it will bounce back. It is resilient. But the protection net that ordinary people create, the energy protection net, is often stiff without resilience. It also lacks resilience when consolidating earth. But for the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni, with such a high-level concentration of mental strength, how could it not have the ability to rebound? It has. It possessed the ability or energy contained in the earth, but in the end, it could not fight against the block of wood. It was only a block of wood with a material structure far different from that of the earth. The problem was that it was wrapped by that resentment. The energy of that resentment was so strong that it penetrated the blue stone and stood in front of the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni. Water has a kind of elasticity that can prevent those things from penetrating it. It cannot be penetrated. But the wooden block penetrated the water as if it knew how to swim. The protection net of water consolidated by ordinary people is water. People can swim through it. But the water consolidated by the Buddha has elasticity, and in fact, it should not have been passed through by the wooden block. But you will find that this piece of wood eventually passed through it as if it was swimming in water. It easily swam over to stand in front of the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni. Fire has a kind of urging force. That urging force will use energy to destroy the structure of your material. That urging force is so powerful. Needless to ask, the urging force of the energy protection net created by ordinary people is very weak. But the one created by the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni must be very powerful. But there was no way to press this piece of wood into ashes. It was impossible. So, in the end, this piece of wood passed through the fire, and still stood in front of the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni. Alright, wind has a kind of rotational force. This piece of wood knew that its energy of resentment could not get through. It knew that it would definitely be swept away. If it was the rotational force of the wind by ordinary people, it thought it could avoid it. However, it could not avoid the rotational force of the cyclone force created by the Buddha. So, it was very clever to avoid the circle of the windstorm, by going around the circle, and rushing up to stand in front of Buddha Shakyamuni. This shows that this piece of wood had a kind of intelligence. It knew how to choose any easy way out. It did not only know how to do curve tracking, it also knew how to choose an easy way out. It could also predict precisely whether its enemy's energy was stronger than it and decide what method to use to attack. This was the most powerful attribute of this piece of wood. Let me explain it a little bit here. We must use our awareness, through a kind of Dharma practice, with forms, and learn how to consolidate the four most basic substances to form a protection net to protect our Dharma practice. All right. Let's have a look. What did the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni actually do this for? He wanted to show it to sentient beings, so they could see how it worked in a dualistic or multiplistic state. That's it. Once you are tracked down by the causes and conditions that you have planted in the past, you cannot get rid of them. Look at how powerful I am. I understand supernatural powers. I also know how to consolidate all substances. The energy network I consolidate is much stronger than yours. But there is no way. All right. The Lord Buddha Shakyamuni hoped that through this kind of Buddha's personal experience, he would give sentient beings a clear understanding of the urgency of getting out of samsara as soon as possible. Otherwise, they would experience endless suffering from reincarnation in the future and can never escape. If the Buddha could not get rid of it, why do you think you can? The energy net created by the Buddha was much stronger than yours, but he still could not avoid the wooden block. You think you are incredible because you have practiced esoteric Buddhism, followed a guru, and knew how to consolidate a protection net yourself. However, even an energy net consolidated by your guru may not be able to protect you, let alone the one consolidated by you. Even the one consolidated by the Buddha was no use. Is that right? You said no, it is possible. You have tried it once with success. You cannot say that one was successful. Basically, you have not eliminated the resentment. You have not completely eliminated its existence. It has just hidden away, continues to accumulate, and will come back to find you in the future. That's all. You are only delaying it. You can say that it is good to delay it. But do not forget, the longer you delay it, if you do not practice the Dharma well, or you do not try to resolve this resentment, or to repent, I can tell you, the evil retribution accumulated after delaying for 10 months, would come to revenge on you more than 10 times. The impact of the evil retribution's revenge could be 10 million times. Originally you were meant to be hit by the hammer and bleed in your head. But after you have delayed it for 10 months, the impact of the hammer could kill you and smash you to pieces. Think about it this way, it turns out that the longer the debt accumulates due to delay in repaying it, the worse you will die. Since this is the case, you must resolve it quickly. The Lord Buddha Shakyamuni still had to resolve it later. How did he resolve it? That is, he stretched out his foot and let the wood stab into his foot. It means that he also had to resolve it. Why did he have to resolve it? Why not drag on for a while? Why not put it off for a while? Since the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni has to go into nirvana anyway, he will return to the state of oneness, then he would avoid the wood to find him anymore. So it should be okay not to pay it back now. But why did the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni want to pay it back? Was his wisdom not high? Of course not. Assume that the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni delayed it for a while. I just don't want my foot to be stabbed. I'd like to form an energy net to leave the wooden block aside, or use another method. All in all, I just want to postpone it and keep delaying it. Would the grievance accumulate even more? He would be fine when he entered the nirvana later. However, he needs to return to the dualistic or multiplistic state to save sentient beings. After saving the Soha world, he goes to save another world. He has many worlds to save, not only that few sentient beings in a circle of your earth. Then why did he spend so much effort to save the sentient beings in that circle? It is because he attained Buddhahood right here, and for this cause and condition, of course, he had to at least save the local sentient beings before he left. The next day after leaving, he needed to go to another place and use his emanations to save more sentient beings. If he does not resolve with this wooden block, then when he emanates in the future, he will always be chased by this wooden block with unresolved resentment. It will prevent him from saving an extensive amount of other sentient beings. That is to say, firstly, it is inevitable. Secondly, it will accumulate more and more. If it continues to accumulate in the future, it will not be residual disasters only. It may turn back to be formal karmic retributions, which would disturb him greatly extremely and propagate the Buddhist Dharma. Therefore, since the resentment has come, you must resolve it right away. It means to follow the cause and condition. Since this resentment has come to you, you should find a way to resolve it. The Lord Buddha Shakyamuni's solution, in the end, was to accept the retribution. He stretched out his foot to be stabbed. This is how he resolved it. Of course, there were many levels that you do not know, and sutras have not mentioned it. The Lord Buddha Shakyamuni did not say it. So, you do not know. He also resolved it through repentance. You may ask, did the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni repent at all? Of course, he did. He publicly made a big confession to tell all sentient beings and disciples, including those heavenly beings and those in the spiritual world. He explained everything to them. I admit that back then, countless lifetimes and asamkhya kalpa before, I did this wrong thing. Now I've had my retribution. This is called public repentance. He has done it. So, repentance is the only important element that can untie the knot. That is it. Even the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni had to do it. Not only that, he also had to stretch out his foot to be stabbed. All right. Later, the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni took a further test. He rose from the lowest level, the heaven of 6 desires, to the Brahma, the lowest level of the heavens of the form realm. What you see on the screen now is the Brahma. The lowest level of the heavens of the desire realm is the heaven of the 4 heavenly kings, which is the low level of the heavenly realms. He then turned to the high level of the heavenly realm, the lowest of which is called the Brahma. The Brahma is also called the first dhyana heavens with 3 heavens. Let's take a look. What did the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni want to test exactly then? He wanted to see all the sentient beings in the heavenly realms. In fact, it was the place he wanted to go. Who does not want to go to the heavenly realms to enjoy happiness? Then, would this piece of wood, full of resentment, after arriving in the heavenly realms and seeing it was so happy there, stop, let go of the debt, and stay there to enjoy happiness? Is it okay to give up this revenge by using this method? Is it possible to turn hatred into joy? So happy, I have forgotten my previous revenge. Forget it. I won't take revenge anymore. I'll just have fun. Let's treat it as a payback. All right, I'll treat it as if you've paid back your debt to let me enjoy the happiness in heaven. And I won't chase the debts you owed me before. Is this possible? Can the energy of this resentment be dissipated and turned into happiness due to a change in state of the mind? Why is there resentment? It is because you have grievances, greed, hatred, and ignorance in your heart. If you are surrounded by happiness, you may forget this kind of resentment, and the resentment could be dissipated. Is that possible? This is called law by the promise of gain. It uses a kind of benefit. That is, the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni wanted to show you that you are so rich now, your karmic creditors have to come now. These karmic creditors may be from countless lifetimes before. They chase you because you are so rich now. Do you think you can exchange some benefits with him to resolve this grievance and hatred? Of course, it depends on what this hatred is. What kind of hatred is it? It may not be possible for deep hatred, such as life debt, or you have killed his relatives. So, the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni once again tested this piece of wood, this grievance, and hoping to let you sentient being know as well. Guess whether you can do it. To use this method. Law by the promise of gain. He then realized that the law was a failure. What was the reason for the failure? As I said in the last class, there was no angry soul, that was no spiritual body attached to this piece of wood. It was only a grievance. This wave of grievance was formed when sentient beings with heavy resentment, or sentient beings related to them, gathered together. Their thoughts at that time aimed at attaching to this grievance, which became a stored energy. Afterwards, this stored energy set up a goal. If only one goal was set up, that is, it only had one goal, which is to take revenge, it would then seek to take revenge. If it adds one more goal, would it add one more goal? I just want to take revenge and stab him in the foot, but if he is willing to pay me back, for example, if he apologizes and gives me something, such as a piece of gold, then I won't have my revenge. Could it have set up a second goal? So the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni went on to test it. Did this mind grievance with intelligence set multiple goals within itself to operate? After the test, he found out that it did not. There was only one goal, which was revenge. It would not stop until it had its revenge by stabbing on your foot. You have stabbed his foot before, so his revenge will be correspondingly stabbing your foot. This is called corresponding. Karma is like this, it must be corresponding. So, there was only one goal in the mind of this grievance with intelligence. There was only one goal, which was to stab your foot. In other words, if I won't let it stab my foot, it would not stop this chasing. I will always be chased like this, and also accumulate in compound interest. So, in the end, shall we pay it back or not to pay it back? As I just explained, not paying back will incur more compound interest and more lack of wisdom. The situation will get worse. It is a more stupid decision, so to speak. So, the decision was to let it stab in the foot. However, letting it stab the foot as a resolution still needs to use wisdom. This is not to say, okay, I have tested you, and it turns out that you only have one goal. That is fine. I will let you stab my foot now. It was not like this. What is wisdom? What the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni was doing is called wisdom. You will know when I carry on. That is, instead of immediately stretching out the foot for you after checking, I will continue to deploy more things to achieve a better direction and result. How? As I have already said, there are past, present, and future. The past is because of the past grievance, and so I was chased by this wooden block. I am now being chased by a wooden block. Then in fact can I use this chasing by a wooden block to predict the future? Of course. The present creates the future. The past is only one of the factors. The present is the most decisive factor. Therefore, the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni applied the most decisive factor. What was he now? He had already attained Buddhahood, unlike before when he had not attained Buddhahood. Since he had attained Buddhahood now, how did he decide for the future? Surely, I won't put my foot out for it right away. Of course, I must do more things. What more things did he do? I have already said a few earlier. He showed it to sentient beings by going up level by level. Then he checked whether it was a straight line or curved line tracking. Then he continued to see if it understood how to choose any easy way out, and whether there existed a kind of intelligence. Now let's take a look. What else is to be checked? What else did he check? How many goals did this grievance have? The day when this grievance was formed, did it set up multiple goals? It was found that there was only one goal. And the enticements were unsuccessful. No matter how happy the heavenly realms were, they could not keep it there. It was impossible to resolve this grievance. This also says one thing. It was not a spiritual body. If this wood was possessed by a spiritual body, this spiritual body have greed, hatred, and ignorance, and there could be a chance that it would give up this goal. Forget it, forget it. Let's change the goal. That's okay. I'll stay in the heaven. I'll consider it as your repayment to me. It would have been like this. But if it was not possessed by a spiritual body with greed, hatred, and ignorance, it was purely a mind intelligence, then on the day you created such a mind intelligence, it would be very rigid. It does not know how to turn around to achieve the set goal. It only has one single goal without adding two more goals. If this intelligence was like this without knowing how to derive anything, that is when the formula was written, anything not in the formula, then there would be no such thing. It would not. It had firmly set up that it would not give up this revenge until its goal was achieved. It would not give up until your foot was stabbed. This was its goal. The Lord Buddha Shakyamuni wanted to explain one thing. All sentient beings enjoying themselves in the heavenly realms, you see it clearly. See clearly. You've all seen that the Buddha is being chased by a piece of wood full of resentment, chased at every level. What does this prove? A very important message. The message is that I don't care which heavenly realms your sentient beings have escaped to, and I don't care what merits you have accumulated, so that you are enjoying happiness in certain heavenly realms, and no matter how long your happiness will last, please see this clearly. I've attained Buddhahood, and I still can't avoid this karma chasing me. I've escaped to the heavens. You think the heavenly realms are the safest? The heavenly realms are very safe, right? There are heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals to protect you, right? You are incredible, because you have sufficient meditational concentration to get to the first dhyana heavens, the three heavens of the Brahma. You all have this kind of concentration to get to such a high level. But you still can't avoid it. This grievance can still go up to chase you. Even the Buddha was chased by them, to such a high level, let alone you sentient beings living in these heavenly realms. Do you think you could be chased by them in the future? Would you lose this happiness out of a sudden and fall again? The answer is yes. But there are many sentient beings will not feel it when they are in happiness. Try to think about it. If there were no pandemic, you would all be enjoying yourself. It is so safe. The place I am staying now is really safe. Let's continue to enjoy ourselves by watching TV, watching movies, and having fun in our spare time. How would you suddenly realize that it is best not to go out, but to trap yourself at home? It is better to go out less. Go out less, otherwise, you must take full precautions. You need to use hand sanitizer, disinfectant, and then spray. Spray to disinfect yourself before entering the house. You also need to wear a mask, and maybe wear goggles, etc. You need so much protection before you can go out. There are things I enjoyed in the past, but it turns out that all these enjoyments can disappear all of a sudden when karmic creditors chase you to the door. The Lord Buddha Shakyamuni just wanted to tell the sentient beings in the heavenly realms. You see it clearly. See it clearly. When you are chased to the door, you can't avoid it no matter what. It'll be like this. This was actually an education that the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni wanted to give. He wanted to educate the sentient beings in these heavenly realms not to think that they were protected by heavenly generals and soldiers so that they could enjoy themselves. When you're chased by karma, you'll have nothing to protect you. There's nothing that can protect you. Furthermore, the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni also wanted to explain one more thing. That is, there are many people who, in order to be reborn in a Buddha's pure land, strive to practice some methods all their lives. What do they practice? They practice some non-ultimate Dharma practice. What are non-ultimate Dharma practice? The Dharma practices, with forms, that one can at best get to a certain heavenly realms only. He cannot escape from samsara. Do you know that in order to escape from samsara, one has to talk about emptiness? But the emptiness here is not the kind of 100% perfect enlightenment. It has shortcomings. It is the emptiness that is short of something, but at least can let you reach the 5 heavens of non-returning. Of course, if you want to become a Buddha, enter a state of oneness, and forever escape from the chasing of karmic forces, then only by attaining the perfect enlightenment can achieve that. If your Dharma practice cannot restore you to perfect enlightenment, it is called unthorough. Including the 5 heavens of non-returning, that allows you to liberate from samsara, is still considered unthorough. If you only go to ordinary heavenly realms, it will be even more unthorough. Because you will be constantly enjoying yourself, but suddenly you wake up the next morning, you will find that there is nothing left. There is no happiness. There is no protection. You have to face the pain. It will be like this. So, this is to tell all sentient beings that if you want to practice the holy Dharma, choose some thorough Dharma practice methods to practice. Do not choose unthorough Dharma practice methods to practice. Otherwise, even if you exhaust all the efforts of your whole life to keep reciting Buddha Amitabha, assume that you can go to the heavenly realms, but mind you, it may not work. I assume that you can achieve, without any disturbance of thoughts and inversion of the mind, and finally get to a certain heavenly realms. For example, my level enables me to get to the inner courtyard of Tusita where Bodhisattva Maitreya teaches the Dharma. How good do you think it is? But the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni told you that this is a low-level heavenly realm. Karma can go and track you down there all at once. Do you think you can still flick fans and enjoy yourselves in the inner courtyard of Tusita? No. It will be gone in an instant, and you will face your karma tracking you in an instant. So, please do not practice those unthorough Dharma practice methods, is that right? What do you need to practice? Emptiness, neither existence nor voidness. What do you need to practice? I am teaching you Diamond Sutras, not to abide in notions, and not to abide anywhere to develop one's mind. You must learn some ultimate Dharma practice methods to really help you. This is one thing that the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni really wanted to tell you. He did so many things in this case. This is one of the things that he wanted to explain to you. If you want to practice the holy Dharma, please practice some of the most thorough Dharma practice methods. Do not think that you can escape by going to the 6 heavens of desire of the heavenly realms. Okay. What else did the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni want to say? If you want to practice the holy Dharma, until you can be reborn in the heavenly realms, where you cannot be tracked and attacked by karma, then you can only be reborn in the 5 heavens of non-returning, to escape from samsara. As far as the heavenly realms are concerned, it is only there that you can avoid the pursuit of karma. He also wanted to tell all sentient beings, one must use the ultimate Dharma practice methods to practice, that is, emptiness, instead the Dharma practice methods with forms. For example, it is not any of those Dharma practice methods that only recite sutras, mantras, or some visualizations with the forms, etc. I can tell you, even if you can get to the 5 heavens of non-returning, it is not the ultimate. It is best that you never come out from there after entering. The Lord Buddha Shakyamuni also wanted to explain one of the most important reasons for him to ascend to the heavenly realms. Why did the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni ascend to the heavenly realms? He wanted to explain one thing: a Buddha's Pure Land still has forms, and it has limitations. You disagree. For example, you may say that you are in the Western land of extreme bliss consolidated by the Buddha Amitabha. I'm protected by the Buddha Amitabha. The Buddha Amitabha and the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni have the same merit. All Buddha's abilities are the same, they all are 100% perfect enlightenment. They can all manifest endless things, but it depends on their own wishes and what they want to manifest. Then, they decide the size of the Pure Land. It is not the magnitude of their power. It is the magnitude of their forces of aspirations. It is just whether they want to do it or not. If they do, they can always do it because Buddha's abilities are consistent and the same. Okay. The Lord Buddha Shakyamuni just wanted to tell you not to think that you can avoid karma, even if you can go to a Buddha's Pure Land. Even the Buddha could not avoid the pursuit of this karma. Why do you think that Pure Land or the Western land of extreme bliss consolidated by him can withstand the pursuit of the karma? The energy net he has consolidated was no match for the tracking of that karma, let alone the land that he has manifested. Have you read all the Buddhist sutras stating that the Buddha Amitabha is millions of years old, and different Buddhas are also millions of years old? Why are they different in age? Aren't they eternal? Shouldn't a Buddha never die? Everything in the dualistic or multiplistic state will vanish one day. This is called the law of causes and effects. This is what the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni said. The true principle of the universe's operation is that anything in a dualistic or multiplistic state will have an end day and a day of destruction. It will decay. If this Buddha appears in this world in a dualistic or multiplistic state, for example, Buddha Amitabha, he is showing his Sambhogakaya or Nirmanakaya body to you. All these bodies are of a dualistic or multiplistic state. Except for the Dharmakaya body, the Sambhogakaya and Nirmanakaya bodies will vanish one day. If that is the case, you may as well practice some thorough Dharma practice to enable yourself to have this ability to enter the state of oneness to attain Buddhahood. This is the best way. All the others, going to this Buddha's Pure Land or that Buddha's Pure Land, are not ultimate. They will all vanish in the end. You still need to practice yourself well. There isn't any protection that can protect you from the pursuit of these karmas. Even the Buddha cannot do it, let alone you. Alright. The Lord Buddha Shakyamuni also wanted to say one thing. The Lord Buddha Shakyamuni did not lead this piece of wood to ascend to a higher level of the heavens of the form realm. He only took it to the first dhyana heavens of the form realm, or the Brahma. He did not take it higher. Why did he do this? It was because the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni felt that he had already finished testing this piece of wood. The energy of resentment in this piece of wood was able to come up here. It should not be able to go any further up. Therefore, he did not go one level up to test it, because this piece of wood could no longer go up. How to explain it? Because this resentment must have a kind of intelligence to get to a higher level of the heavenly realms. What kind of intelligence? It is emptiness. As I said, there are many kinds of emptiness. If it is not the kind of emptiness that is neither existence nor voidness, then it is imbalanced emptiness, it is emptiness with shortcomings. The imbalanced emptiness, also called emptiness, can still go up to the second dhyana heavens, the third dhyana heavens, and above. But when the Lord Buddha realized that the intelligence of this piece of wood had no such kind of emptiness, he knew that it could no longer go up. So, there was no need for him to test it further. How could the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni be so clever to tell? Now I will teach you how to differentiate. You can also differentiate it like the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni did. What methods and elements are used to differentiate it? That is, can you see that this piece of wood was following the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni all the way? It was chasing him very closely. It stood in front of Buddha Shakyamuni all the time. It was not standing at a distance. It stood right in front of him. And it would never let go. Have you noticed that this piece of wood would never give up its goal? He would always chase, no matter how hard it was, how high it was, and how much energy it would consume. It would continue to chase. What does this mean? It would never let go. What does it mean to never let go? It means that it had no wisdom of emptiness, no wisdom of emptiness. Because only with the wisdom of emptiness, one can understand how to let go. Without the wisdom of emptiness, one will pursue it relentlessly and never let go. If you watch it clearly, there is no need to ask why when you see it kept chasing for so long, but still continued to chase the Buddha. I can be certain that the state of your intelligence has no wisdom of emptiness. That is to say, that day when the sentient being placed this mental strength and resentment in the wooden block, there was no wisdom of emptiness within his domain at all. Therefore, when he placed this resentment and wrote this program, that is, the person who wrote the program and placed this mental consciousness of resentment in this wooden block, he did not have wisdom of emptiness. Therefore he would neither place this wisdom of emptiness, nor could he write the program with this wisdom of emptiness. Without this program, without this step, without these elements, naturally the resentment would not have this function. Since it did not have the function of emptiness, it means that it could not reach the highest levels of heavenly realms. It is that simple. It is actually very simple. You will know when you look at it clearly. So, you can look at your wife, your husband, your son, your daughter, any of your Dharma brothers, or any sentient beings, and you find that they all have some characteristics. That is, they pursue it relentlessly and never let go. But this never letting go is a kind of greed, hatred, and ignorance. Pursuing relentlessly is actually greed, hatred, and ignorance. In this way, I can tell you that this person does not have the wisdom of emptiness. If you want to save him, I can tell you, it is extremely difficult. You might as well practice better yourself. If you find yourself like this, it will be miserable. You have to hurry up to find those wisdom of emptiness. Otherwise, you should never expect to succeed in Dharma practice. You must definitely fail. Okay. What if I pursue it relentlessly and never let go, to learn the wisdom of emptiness? What if I do not pursue those greed, hatred, and ignorance relentlessly? That will be different. You will succeed one day. One day, you no longer need to talk about pick up and let go. That's it. Without using anything, you will naturally be balanced. You will naturally apply the wisdom of emptiness. You have already reached a state where you do not need to pursue, you do not need to give up, there is no need to pick up, and there is no need to let go. Therefore, you need to observe what quality one has when he pursues relentlessly and never let go. If one constantly pursues greed, hatred, and ignorance, and never let go of greed, hatred, and ignorance, then you have to give up this person. Otherwise, he will keep pestering you, and it will be very difficult for you to succeed in your Dharma practice. Your pursuit relentlessly, and never letting go have to be for practicing Dharma practice, without forms. All practice with forms is impossible to succeed. We have to make it clear first. Please do not make a mistake. There are two types of Dharma practice. One must practice the one with wisdom of emptiness, the one that is balanced, the one with the emptiness of the wisdom of perfect enlightenment, and the one that one will never let go and pursue relentlessly to the end. Then one will be able to balance. When he reaches the end, he will not need to worry about letting go or not, or those to pursue or not anymore. That is, he has the opportunity to get to this position with this wisdom. So, this kind of relentless pursuit is good. So you need to know how to distinguish. The Lord Buddha Shakyamuni wanted to tell sentient beings, I did not go up to the heavens of the form realm, because I know that the piece of wood can't go up. It can't do it, because it doesn't have this wisdom of emptiness. It can't go one level up. So, you must remember how to distinguish and know what the wisdom of emptiness is. If you look at that person's behavior, you will know more or less whether he has these qualities, the ability to let go and the ability to hold back, the ability to advance and the ability to retreat. How simple it is. These are not very profound principles that you can understand immediately. That is, if you see a person with these qualities, able to let go and hold back, able to advance and retreat, and not to be attached, he is not abiding in notions, then this kind of person is with qualities. Later, the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni descended level by level. Now you discover that he would stop at each level and not descend all at once. I've gone down from the Brahma to the human realm in one go. See how great my ability is. With my human body, I should have gone down level by level, right? I should have adjusted the air pressure, adjusted the state of mind, and adjusted the circumstances, but I have gone down all at once. How incredible I am! However, he did not do it like this. The Lord Buddha Shakyamuni descended level by level. It was not due to his lack of abilities. It is because he wanted to do one thing. I'd like to show them how karma works when I ascend level by level. How powerful it is. You can't avoid it wherever you go. He wished to demonstrate this principle to them when he was ascending. But what principles did he want to show them when he was descending? At every level, I'd like to explain the Dharma of past conditions. What is the Dharma of past conditions? It is the structure and operation of causes and conditions. The purpose is to present my own real case, and tell you the truth right in front of you so that all sentient beings know that even a Buddha's supernatural powers, or how powerful you are, there is no way you can escape the entanglements of karma. It is hoped that these sentient beings would deeply understand the pain of samsara. The Buddha was chased by it to the point of panting like a cow. No matter what, he was not able to pay it all back. How painful he was. He had been paying back the debts in countless lifetimes through being in realms of hells, animals, and hungry ghosts and being stabbed constantly. That was not enough. After attained Buddhahood, he was still chased by this piece of wood. How painful it is. This is really a very painful sea of karma. What is the truth and principle of this entanglement of karmic? It is that you should not expect to be able to escape with luck. Now he was explaining to all sentient beings. He was teaching the cause and condition while he descended. What did he do apart from that? Let's take a look. One characteristic of this case is that it shows the tracking process of karma level by level. The Lord Buddha Shakyamuni was deliberately ascending slowly 7 feet by 7 feet each time. He went to each level of the heavenly realms to let sentient beings of the human realm, and up the heavenly realms, where sentient beings have the utmost happiness, to watch this clearly. They are sentient beings already in the 3 upper virtuous realms, let alone those in the realms of hells, hungry ghosts and animals. You all enjoy so much happiness. I want to tell you that all of your blessings will disappear in an instant due to impermanence. Why? Because each of you has your own karma, and one day you will have your own retributions, and all happiness will be gone. I will show you how powerful the energy of karma is at each level. Do not think that you are incredible, because you know how to practice the holy Dharma, and also the esoteric Buddhism, how many empowerments you have received and how many Dharma practice rituals you have practiced. I can tell you now that there is no use no matter how incredible you are. It is because there is still a kind of being tracked process. This process is a situation that is difficult to imagine. In the tracking process, the wooden block used curved tracking, straight line tracking. It also possessed the intelligence to know how to choose any easy way out. No matter how you escape, there is no way you can get away with it. Even the Buddha, who had great supernatural powers, had no way to escape this kind of karmic, terrorist attacks, and terrorist assault. The Lord Buddha Shakyamuni hoped to alert all sentient beings not to indulge in the current happiness. Please wake up. Are you really happy? You should all wake up. Do not accumulate more evil causes in order to sustain or increase the current happiness. For example, you like to eat this wild meat, so you butcher, deep fry, and even eat it raw. You can do anything to eat it. That is to say, you have sown so many evil causes in order to continue and accumulate your own happiness. You do not know the way you die in the future. You must quickly and solidly practice the correct Buddhist holy Dharma now. You have to construct a survival path for yourself, a survival path for yourself to walk, okay? Do not be so stubborn. You should not keep burying your head in the sand like an ostrich and continuing to think how happy you are. You are so happy that you do not create a survival path for yourselves. You should practice the holy Dharma. There is no survival path if you do not practice the holy Dharma. Grow melons and reap melons, sow beans and reap beans. It means that one must live with the consequences of one's actions. How can you get rid of these pains if you do not practice the holy Dharma? If you are not delusional, what is it? Can you just pray to Buddhas and Bodhisattvas by saying a few words? Even the Buddha could not escape. Why do you think you can? It is better to ask yourself than to ask others. The Buddha asked you to practice the holy Dharma, so you should listen to the Buddha's words and practice the holy Dharma well. There is another deeper reason for you to consider. This is the ultimate goal of the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni, to do these things. What is this deeper reason? In fact, whenever there is a huge evil karma that is having bad retributions, if you want to reduce the lethality of such large-scale evil retribution, you must use the same huge amount of good karma to correspond. As I just said, what does one need to look at when resolving any karmic force of causes and effects? He has to look at one thing, that is, its hugeness. Does it correspond? Do you use a stronger force to fight against this kind of karma, or a weaker force to fight against this karma? If you find that this karma is an extremely huge evil karma, then you must use the karmic force with at least the same energy level to resolve it. This is very important. Why do we call it correspondence? Think about it clearly. This karma is accumulated for innumerable asankhya kalpa, that is, the accumulation of karma for an uncountable long period of time. The Lord Buddha Shakyamuni could not resolve it no matter what supernatural powers he used. So, he must find a way. In fact, before he ascended to heavenly realms, and when he saw this piece of wood in the human world, he already knew that he had to use the corresponding method to resolve it. What does it mean to use the corresponding method to resolve it? Let's have a look. He had to immediately accumulate a huge, good karma that corresponded to this piece of wood so that he could match with this wood. You will ask, wasn't the one of the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni big enough? Do you know? He often took his disciples to beg for alms everywhere. He knocked on the door of every household and gave them the opportunity to plant merits. He also repented. He even repented in public. Think about it. He was already a Buddha. Even a Buddha had to repent. The Buddha, before attaining Buddhahood, had done wrong things. He was already so honorable, but he disregarded the dignity of a Buddha and repented in public and revealed what he had done wrong prior to attaining Buddhahood. If it was you, you would not be able to do it. You would be frightened to lose your dignity, even just a little bit. You know that a Buddha does not abide in notions. How could he be reluctant to repent due to the dignity of a Buddha? It is impossible. Even though he took a rest for a while, those heavenly beings came to visit him. After those heavenly beings sang and praised him, he felt that he had to repay these sentient beings. These sentient beings came and conveyed their greetings to me in such a way that if I do not repay them, how can I justify it? A one requital for a requital, so I refer to the Buddha. I'm telling you now and demonstrating it to you that only repent can do so. I am going to repent now, otherwise, I cannot untie this knot. I must make a personal example to tell you how to resolve it. My resolution is that I repent in public. It is not enough after repenting. What else did he do? The Buddha flew into the sky, he flew into the sky. Before he repented, he had already flown into the sky. Why did he fly into the sky? It has already been explained earlier. Why did he speak of the Dharma of past conditions while he was descending? This is the reason. That is, he had already known before flying into the sky. He knew that the energy of resentment from this piece of wood was too large, that he must create more and higher levels of good karma. He used to go to every city one by one, but these cities were only in the human realm, so he benefited certain countries. It was only a small area, not the whole world. And it was still only in the human realm, not reaching the realms of hells, hungry ghosts, animals, or even every level of heavenly realms. It was possible to get to some of the realms, but the number of sentient beings involved was still very small, not large enough. Since these merits were not enough to correspond to this resentment, therefore, the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni had to accumulate more merits. How to accumulate more merits? I, referring to the Buddha, want to educate all sentient beings from the human realm to the three upper realms. I would like to educate all sentient beings, using my current personal example. Accumulating merits is not to give you a bowl of rice to eat. Are the sentient beings in the heavenly realm not happy enough? They are now in the Yama heaven. Do they want to go up to the Tusita heaven to listen to Bodhisattva Maitreya preaching the Dharma? So, you do some merits to help them. You help them to raise a level to the Tusita heaven and listen to Bodhisattva Maitreya speaking of the Dharma. Does this count as planting merit? Do you think this merit is big enough? You have helped a sentient being, assuming that you have helped all the sentient beings in the Yama heaven to go up. Do you think that this merit is big enough? It is only going one level up to the Tusita heaven. But what merit did the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni choose to plant now? It was to teach the holy Dharma from the human world to the three heavens of the Brahma, which is the first dhyana heavens, and each level of heaven involved an endless number of heavenly beings and sentient beings. There were so many. And they were all about to use up their merits. They would fall back down to the lower three realms in the future, which would be very miserable. In order to help them get rid of this pain, he went up to each level to demonstrate what was called karmic tracking. When he descended, he explained the Dharma of past conditions to all sentient beings at each heaven. Look at the merits he planted. How many sentient beings were involved? It must be more than the number of sentient beings in the kingdom where he propagate the Buddhist holy Dharma after he attained Buddhahood. How many times more? It was uncountable. This is endless versus endless. Because this resentment was endless through so many Asankhya Kalpa, do you need to find something endless to correspond to it? What is the method to resolve the karmic force of causes and effects? It is correspondence. What is correspondence? It is to correspond in terms of its quality, quantity, and depth. It was endless both in time and space. Its numbers have accumulated to countless many. Hence, the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni had to create this cause and condition correspondence. How did he do it? He went up from the human realm, level by level. Even though it could not be seen by this country, India was split into 16 states at the time. There were other countries far away that might see. It might be possible for them to look up into the sky and see the Buddha, as the human realm was visible to the naked eye. Hence, he would go up level by level to let the people in the human realm see it first. Then he went up to a higher level for all capable beings, or the beings in the spiritual world to see. When he ascended to the heavens, he was seen and heard by sentient beings of countless levels. Later, when he descended gradually level by level, he explained the Buddhist holy Dharma, all the way down to the human realm. May I ask whether the number of sentient beings involved was endless? Of course, it was. Secondly, was the level involved deep enough? Of course, it was deep enough. He went up and reached the Brahma heaven. Was it not deep enough? One must have enough meditational concentration to get there. Thirdly, was the quality of what he did good enough? Of course, it was. The quality of the Buddhist holy Dharma he was teaching now was first class. If the Buddhist holy Dharma taught by the Buddha was not first class, what would be the top? He was teaching the Dharma of past conditions, the most basic you must know. If you do not know, how can you continue with your Dharma practice? These are called endless versus endless, and huge versus huge. This kind of virtuous karma was specially designed by the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni. He had to create this large amount of virtuous karma, because the virtuous karma he had planted in many past lifetimes that made him become a Buddha, had been more or less used up. After he attained Buddhahood, he only went to a certain country, at most a few more countries, to talk about the Buddhist holy Dharma. The number of sentient beings involved was very few. Do you think the merit was huge? It was not endless versus endless, right? So, he had to take immediate action. The Lord Buddha Shakyamuni took immediate action. If you are tracked down by your karma, one day in the future, you must know that your retribution appears. If you feel that you do not have enough merits to fight against it, what should you do immediately? You should create large virtuous karma, as big as possible. Otherwise, it may not be sufficient to correspond. That is why even the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni still had to suffer from the pain of being stabbed in the foot. He had already done such a huge amount of virtuous karma, but he was still stabbed in the foot by the wooden block. There was no way to avoid it, because of the design of this resentment's intelligent program. It was already written, as never give up, until it completed its goal. That is, will not give up until foot is stabbed, which means that the Buddha must let the wooden block stab into his foot. There is no other way. In order to eliminate this resentment completely, so that it would not come back to 2 more times after it stabbed the foot this time. As I said before, there is parallel time and space. It would stab repeatedly. In order not to let this wood's resentment to stab the foot again, should we not completely eliminate this resentment? If you want to completely eliminate this resentment, the foot must be stabbed so that the goal is completed and dissipated. But under the parallel time and space, the next goal will be formed. It will stab the foot again. Therefore, before it has been affected by the parallel time and space, it must be destroyed immediately. How to destroy it? It was to let it go to the core of the earth and be destroyed by fire. Then you would say, why bother going to the heavenly realms, so many levels, doing so many things that are so hard? He had to descend and had to go up slowly level by level. While descending slowly level by level, the Buddha had to teach the Buddhist holy Dharma at each level, which was so troublesome. It was not meant to be trouble. It was in this way a huge amount of energy could be accumulated. Do you think that it was really the fire at the core of the earth that burned out the resentment of this wooden block? Then you are wrong. That was impossible. It is necessary to add such huge virtuous karma performed by the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni to correspond to the energy of the core. The Buddha could immediately rely on this huge virtuous karma, added to the energy of the core to make it endless. Endless versus endless, so that the resentment could be dissipated, so that this piece of wood could finally be burned to ashes. Do you know that on that day, the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni used his Buddha power to turn into a fire and wanted to burn this piece of wood? He tied off the territory as a protection net. One of the layers was a fire. He wanted to burn this piece of wood, but he failed. That piece of wood went through it instantly with skill and ease. How could it go to the center of the earth and be burned? Of course, it was not because the fire in the center of the earth was more powerful. Could it be the firepower from the core of the earth more powerful than the firepower consolidated by the mental strength of the Buddha? Of course not. If you think like this, it means that you do not understand the Dharma. Let me tell you what kind of thinking is correct. It has to be huge versus huge, and endless versus endless. This is the oral pith instruction for resolving any karmic force of causes and effects. The Lord Buddha Shakyamuni was doing it. How did he do it? It was to accumulate a huge amount of karma involving countless levels and countless sentient beings, and then teach them the highest level of Buddhist holy Dharma. It was to accumulate a huge amount of karma and then to correspond to the goal set by it, to be stabbed by it in the foot. After being stabbed by it, I, the Buddha, had to burn it before it took effect in the parallel time and space. He stretched out his foot right away to be stabbed by the wooden block. After stabbing through the sole of his foot, it went straight into the center of the earth. Then the energy at the center of the earth matched with the endless virtuous karma performed by the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni and amplified. As long as the energy is huge enough, the wood can be burned into ashes. This is the principle behind it. But why is it not stated in the Buddhist sutras? Do you know who wrote these Buddhist sutras? After the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni entered Nirvana, all his disciples, those who had attained Arhantship's disciples, compiled the sutras based on their memories. Their memories were like this, so it is like this. Their programs did not understand this, so it is like this. So, Buddhist sutras do not analyze in detail like this. Only the process was written down for you to see. This process is that the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni ascended 7 feet each time. And the process is that he tied off the territory by assembling earth, water, fire, and wind, but none of them could resist the wooden block. So, it is not understood why he stopped ascending after he reached the Brahma, the first dhyana heavens of the form realm. It is not understood why he descended gradually level by level and taught the Dharma of past conditions. It is not understood why he stretched out his foot to be stabbed by this piece of wood. It is also not understood why the power of the fire of this piece of wood reaching the core of the earth this time was stronger than the fire consolidated by the Buddha, and had the ability to burn it into ashes. Why? Is it true that after stabbing the foot, the wooden block's resentment could be released and finally be burned completely? In fact, you will find that when you read the Buddhist sutras, the sutras will not explain and analyze for you. All the sutras simply describe the events and provide facts of the events. It is based on the day the person recording this fact's ability to understand this fact. How much he wrote is how much you can get. It was like this. In other words, a lot of essence is lost in Buddhist sutras. Of course. Then, can we draw out the lost essences from these Buddhist sutras? Yes, we can. You have to use your own Dharam practice power, your ability to understand the Buddhist holy Dharma, your awareness, your meditational power, and your wisdom. After all, these are utilized, of course. You have to be wholehearted as well. And be a long-winded speaker like me. Then, one would be able to explain it. So can tell you now that the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni still had to suffer from the pain of the foot after being stabbed. It was inevitable, because the mind intelligence contained in this piece of wood had to complete its task correspondingly. With the task completed, there was a chance to dissolve this energy. But this kind of energy had to be resolved at the fastest speed. If you are a bit slow, it will come back all over again due to the formation of parallel time and space. It would circulate forever, which would be very painful. In the end, this energy was able to be dissolved in the fire in the center of the earth. One of the reasons was because the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni applied an oral pith instruction to resolve the karmic force of causes and effects. This oral pith instruction is to correspond. This is how it was resolved. That is, huge versus huge and endless versus endless. You have to accumulate corresponding huge and endless virtuous karma to be effective, so that this phenomenon could appear. Otherwise, the energy derived from the parallel time and space would be infinite and could not be interrupted. This way, it would continue to derive, and this can make you unable to stop. So, we must adopt these methods, otherwise the energy of the core of the earth was impossible to burn that piece of wood into ashes. This also shows that the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni needed to mobilize the correspondence, characteristics of the karmic force of causes and effects, to resolve the entanglement of karma. This is also a kind of exemplary teaching that the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni specially taught sentient beings. It is exemplary teaching, an oral pith instruction and an education. It is huge versus huge and endless versus endless. It is a kind of wisdom. Remember this kind of wisdom. When you cannot resolve a kind of karma, or you can only resolve 10% or 20%, it is because you have insufficient virtuous karma. Even the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni realized that he did not have enough virtuous karma, and had to immediately plant an even greater, and endless virtuous karma, let alone you. Take the COVID pandemic that has been affecting sentient beings around the world as an example. The number of people affected is extremely large, so we have reminded all Dharma practitioners who know how to do smoke offerings to please hurry up and do more smoke offerings to resolve it. Do not rely on the Dudjom Buddhist Association to do it only. We should involve huge versus huge, that is, a large number of sentient beings to do it. It is not only through our personal abilities, because the object of smoke offerings includes sentient beings at different levels. Do you know that all sentient beings in the spiritual world sniff smoke, including all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas? This is described at length in the Avatamsaka Sutra. This Bodhisattva wants to smell the smoke of this fragrance. That Bodhisattva wants to smell the smoke of that fragrance, and the dragon clan must smell its special smoke. This way, resentment will not come out so easily. Resentment would cause chaos in the world. That is, the number of sentient beings involved must be large, and there must be enough different levels of sentient beings, and their number has to be extremely huge. Then the virtuous karma you plant will be effective, as if prescribing the correct medicine for the illness. If these sentient beings are helped or supported by your smoke offerings, or if the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas receive these offerings, they will give you an effect after receiving your cause. So, they will help you. Where there is a cause, there will be an effect. If there is no cause, there will be no effect. You often ask Buddhas and Bodhisattvas to help you, but you must plant this kind of cause, so that they have the condition to help you. If you have not made offerings to Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, how can they find a condition to help you? If you do not resolve the resentment of the Nagas and the 8 races of non-human entities and other sentient beings of the spiritual realm, how can they let go of their hatred? So you have to resolve it. So you have to make offerings, so that you can quickly accumulate a large number of virtuous karma. Those who do the smoke offering must pray after the smoke offering. When you offer this smoke offering, that involves such a large number and different levels of sentient beings, what exactly do you pray for apart from accumulating a huge amount of virtuous karma? Do not say that one should not abide in notions. If you really do not abide in notions, why do you make the smoke offering? Doesn't it mean that you abide in notions of smoke offering? Then you are saying that the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni abode in notions of traveling to different levels of heavenly realms and also abode in notions of going up 7 feet each time. Why did he not go straight up to the Brahma, but ascend gradually, 7 feet up each time like this? Then you are saying that the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni abode in notions of 7 feet, and he abode in notions of the sentient beings in the heavenly realm at different levels. You would also say that the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni abode in notions of teaching the Dharma of past conditions. Then, it is better not to teach it. Do you really understand what it means by abiding in notions, and not abiding in notions? Not abiding in notions means that when you do anything, you should not be attached to anything you do, but it does not mean that you do not do it. Not to abide anywhere to develop one's mind. That mind is a kind of awareness. You must have this awareness to do something to resolve the suffering of sentient beings, but should not be attached to your success or failure. This is called not abiding in notions. It does not mean that you do not have to do it. In other words, you have to do the smoke offering and say a prayer. We need to pray that this plague will be extinguished. Many people will develop anxiety about this pandemic. As Dharma practitioners, how should we deal with this kind of collective karma in society? First of all, your focus should not be misplaced. You must know that our karma can be divided into at least 3 types. There are many types, countless types. It will be impossible to describe them all as there are too many types. I will now classify them into 3 types, so it is easier to understand. Suppose you have 3 kinds of karma. One is personal karma, the other is the karma of relatives and friends, and the other is social collective karma. As individuals, we must be involved at least in our own personal karma portfolio and be pulled by it. We are pulled by our relatives and friends' karma. We are also pulled by the collective karma of the society, right? That is, we have at least 3 buttons on our body. We have 3 buttons that are fastened to our bodies. These 3 buttons are buckled to 3 types of karma. Okay. The personal karma is an autonomous force. Let us remember it. You can make decisions by yourselves unless you give up your autonomous ability. Otherwise, you have the autonomy ability. You actually have it unless there is a problem with your IQ. You must remember one thing. Your relatives and friends' karma is not yours. You do not have the autonomous ability on this. That relative or friend's karmic force is another person's force. It is another person's karmic force. Remember that it is another person's force, not yours. There is none of your force in it. Do not always think that you are a Superman. You have no power in it. Remember it, the force of society is even more complex. The force involved in society is greater than your personal force. You do not have personal autonomous ability, as you are only a small part of the large group in society. Even if you are considered high in the hierarchy, but against some forces, how are you ranked? Okay. Where are we now? So pathetic. We are in the 3 realms. Where are the 3 realms? It is very dark. Can you see it? Is it dark enough on the screen? This is called the Black Sea of Karma, which is filled with karma and is a pitch-dark sea. We are in great pain. We are here now. First of all, it is dark and ignorant, and it is difficult to arouse our awareness. Do you know that when we think about some things, we do not understand them no matter how we think about them? You will know what I mean if you try to read some Buddhist sutras. Since they are ancient texts and I assume that you are proficient and are an expert in ancient language, you may not be able to explain clearly the deep meaning inside. As simple as explaining the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni's story, can you do it? There were 10 great retributions even after the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni attained Buddhahood. Let's explain it again, and you will find that you are just reading through. The knowledge you have learned is easy to forget. After reading the story, none of you can analyze it in depth. Now, after I analyzed it for you, do you find that in these cases, you can learn a lot of things and learn a lot of profound truths? So, you must learn them, right? But the reason why you cannot learn or understand is because you are now in that sea, so dark that it is difficult to trigger the awareness. This is the reason why you cannot arouse the awareness after reading it. Impermanence, it is unstable. Do you find that sometimes, the moment you wake up, a lot of things seem to be clear suddenly? But you forget it again when you wake up after sleep. I don't understand it again. You will find that your awareness is very unstable. You sometimes seem to understand a lot of things suddenly. But before long, you forget everything. You have forgotten everything. You have forgotten what you understood earlier. These are the characteristics of the black sea of karmic force. Your awareness cannot be aroused no matter what. It is like your head has just emerged and pressed down again. It is suppressed by yourselves, by your ego attachment and by your karma. Accordingly, all your enjoyment and good things are unstable and impermanent. And you often feel pain. This kind of pain will evolve differently according to how your mind endures. But the nature is pain. It will make you emotionally unstable. If you find that you have these three things, it goes without saying that it will be hard for you to escape and survive. But if you understand that you are in this situation, and that you have these three things trapping you, and if you find a way to remove them, you will have a chance to escape and survive. Otherwise, you will forever float in this black sea. Let's take a look now. As Dharma practitioners, we are incredible, right? I know a little bit about Buddhist holy Dharma, and am willing to do Dharma practice. Only then can I be called a Dharma practitioner. I am willing to listen to the Buddhist holy Dharma. At least this teacher is verbose and preached for 3 hours, but if you are still willing to continue listening, you are not too bad. Let's take a look now. If a Dharma practitioner really cares about his own personal karma, he practices well, and his focus is all on adjusting and modifying his own personal karmic portfolio, he has a high chance of using his karma's carrying capacity to carry himself to the surface of the water. Can you see it? We have to be carried to the surface of the water, and have to float on the water. Do you know that we must float on the surface of the water? Our goal is to float on the surface of the water. What are the benefits? You can broaden your horizons. You will find that your awareness can be maintained for a long time. It is similar to a ding ringing sound of a bell that appears in my mind, and this ding brings out 10 principles. At most only 8 are left after a while, but you still have 8 left. There are only 2 missing. Why are you capable of doing this? Why were you not capable of doing this before? When you were in the middle of the sea, or at the bottom of the sea, or floating and sinking in the middle of the sea, even this ding brought out 10 awareness from you, but these 10 awareness would be lost. Let me tell you, you will forget very quickly. But if you are on the water, you will widen your horizons. You will be able to enhance and maintain your kind of awareness. You must broaden your horizons before you can elevate your awareness. Otherwise, your wisdom will be lesser. Do you know that the vision is important? Vision allows you to see different situations, and makes it very easy for you to have this ding sound to let some awareness and wisdom come out. How can this awareness be maintained and not to be lost? There must be light. How can there be light? There will only be light when floating on the water. You are in the dark sea, buried in it, so how can there be light? If you have these 2 things, broadening your horizons, improving your awareness, and having light to maintain your awareness, then you will continue to improve. That is, you will have the opportunity to practice the Buddhist holy Dharma until you can liberate from samsara or attain Buddhahood. So how important it is to float on the water. But I also want to tell you that most of the Dharma practitioners are actually in the middle of the dark sea. It is not bad to be in the middle and not be at the bottom of the sea, right? Why am I in the middle of the water instead of on the surface of the water? I have worked very hard to focus my Dharma practice on my personal karma. I am already modifying my karmic portfolio continuously. Why am I still in the middle? This is because you have a button that fastens to the karma of your relatives and friends. You think that you are incredible, so you swim over to your relatives and friends and try to undo the button that is fastened on the body of your relatives and friends. You want to help your relatives and friends to remove the entanglement of their karma. This is naive and delusional. As I said earlier, you have autonomy over your own personal karma, but the karma of your relatives and friends is somebody else's karma. Remember, it is somebody else's. No matter how close he is to you, sleeping next to you, or your own child, you must remember that they are another person, they have their own independent thoughts. And they are wrestling with you with their own strength. They are fighting against you. You ask them to learn the Buddhist Dharma, and they scold you. Why are you so superstitious, Mom and Dad? How can you believe in these things? You ask them to believe in Buddhism, but they do not pay attention. Do you ask your wife to believe in Buddhism? Unless you are very capable, with her submitted to your ability, she may do something reluctantly, but reluctantly. Will she really believe it? You really do not know. So, I can tell you. Do not focus on resolving the karmic portfolios of your relatives and friends. You cannot solve them. This is a dead knot. What is a dead knot? You may not be able to solve yours, personal karma. Sometimes you are unstable in your beliefs, and you sometimes break the precepts, not to mention persuading your relatives and friends not to break the precepts. Don't you think that this is a tale of the Arabian Nights? This is a dead knot. If they do not believe it themselves and use their own autonomous abilities to untie their own knots, they cannot untie them at all. It is just a waste of time and energy for you to try to untie their knots. It is impossible for you to untie them. You should focus your attention on your own personal, karmic portfolio. You will be miserable if you misplace the focus. Do not expect to get to the surface of the water. You will just keep sinking and your relatives and friends will keep dragging you down. Unless your relatives and friends are studying Buddhism themselves, they are studying Buddhism with you, or even helping you to study Buddhism, then it will be different. They will become a buoyant force to support you and carry you. But you cannot try to solve the black karma on them. When the karma outbreak and chases them to the doorstep, and you want to help by pulling the karma a bit, you can also be dragged down by it. Why? Because those karmic forces are inconceivable. Are you aware that Buddha Shakyamuni would ask another Buddha for help? I, the Buddha, will pray immediately. Please could Buddha Amitabha come to help me? When it stabs my foot, I will pass out from the pain. I will look for Bodhisattva Avalokitesvara, and go to Bodhisattva Manjushri later. I keep looking for more Buddhas to help me. Therefore, my foot will not be stabbed. Are you aware that Buddha Shakyamuni would do this in this case? No. Did he ask all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas for help? No. Let's play tug-of-war and fight against each other. Was there any tug-of-war with those collective karma? No. He was alone to face and resolve this karma by himself. Why? Because it was his own personal, karmic portfolio that did not involve other people, so he resolved it by himself. So, how can you involve other people and lead them in the right direction? He went to teach the Buddhist holy Dharma. He taught them the Buddhist holy Dharma when he ascended to every level of the heavens. He showed the horrors of karma to help sentient beings so they can arouse their awareness to help themselves in the future. This merit would be great. That is, he did a great merit to his own karmic portfolio in order to resolve the persisting entanglement of this karma. In other words, has he invited other Buddhas to come and help him in the tug-of-war? No, he has not. This explains one thing. Please do not focus on unbuttoning the button on your relatives and friends, but on unbuttoning yourself. Why? Because that concerns other people's karma and their autonomy. It is other people's karma, it is not yours. You can easily lose control and direction if they pull you down, and you keep holding on to them, with them losing direction and not listening to your advice. You ask them to go east, but they go west. You will be dragged to the bottom of the water by them. This will create too many connections, and you will be dragged down, because you have too many connections with them. Do remember, which button do you unbutton? The button on your body, Dharma practitioners, also ties to the karmic force of his friends and relatives. Please can you unbutton this button? Okay. You still have one more button. This button ties you to the collective karma of the society. The collective karma of the society is even more complex. Despite this, you again wish to swim over to attempt to unbutton this society's collective karma button as the society is suffering now. You hope to put an end to their sufferings, but this collective karma is even more difficult for you to resolve. Because this collective karma, even if you invite all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas to come to play tug-of-war, there is nothing you can do. Why? It is because the collective karma is very complicated, and therefore is a taboo for Dharma practitioners to be connected to. You are practicing the holy Dharma hoping to get out of samsara, out of this sea of suffering. But you still connect with this sea of suffering, which is the biggest entanglement. Then, needless to say, you must fall to the bottom of the water. It will be hard for you not to go to the bottom of the water. Then what would happen? You will accelerate your downfall trend. Why? Because those are other people's karma. You do not have the autonomy in it. You do not even know if you have 1 in a billion power here. So, we must remember that what you need to untie is not the karmic portfolio of the collective karma of society, but the one that buckles on your own body. Unbutton it. Do not be fastened to the collective karma of this society. Some people may say, "What can I do?" You will find many people, in order to unbutton this button on the body, what would they do? Go into remote mountains to practice the Dharma. Once they have gone into remote mountains, there is no need to be bothered. They severed ties with close relatives. They no longer interact with all their relatives and friends. They pay no attention to the collective karma of the society. They do not know what is happening in the society. They only practice holy Dharma in remote mountains. That is, they have unbuttoned 2 buttons at the same time and then focus on unbuttoning the button of their personal karma. What other methods do some people use? To become a monk. Which button does becoming a monk unbutton? It is to unbutton the one of friends and relatives. I have already become a monk. Do not come to find me when you have time. Do not ask me to have a hot pot with you. I will not go to have a hot pot with you. I am only practicing the holy Dharma now. The button of the society. As you know, Dharma practitioners pay no attention to world affairs. If you do, you are forcing yourself to add 1 button. This is called becoming a monk to practice the holy Dharma. What about us? We are at home. We are not a monk, and we cannot go to remote mountains. What should we do? Let's have a look and see what we should do. We focus on our own personal holy Dharma practice. We will be in the middle of the water first, constantly struggling to float. Why? Because we have a button buckling our relatives and friends. Most of us will be in the middle of the water. If in the end, it drags you down, whether it is relatives and friends dragging you down, or the collective karma of the society dragging you down, if you fall into the bottom of the water, I can tell you, your life will never be spared. How can it be without the awareness? You must rely on the awareness to rise to the surface. How can there be awareness in the bottom of the water? You will be surely dead. Let's take a look. Never attempt to unbutton the two buttons, the buttons of relatives and friends' karma and society's collective karma. These two buttons are the buttons on the body of the karma and are pointing by two arrows here. You must keep this in mind and do whatever you can to avoid it. We can only focus on the solution of personal karma. Okay. Remember one more thing. In addition to not misplacing focus, we should focus on our personal karma. Apart from unbuttoning our personal karma button, it is best that we only have this one button attached to our body. As Dharma practitioners, although we have 3 buttons on our body, we should try our best to unbutton the one that connects with our relatives and friends, and the one that connects with society. We only focus on rearranging our personal karma, and the most important thing is not to make so many connections. The locks of the karma of relatives, friends, and society attached to our bodies must be unlocked. They must be released. They are the locks on the Dharma practitioner's body, and are locks enclosed by triangles in the picture. We need to unlock the lock associated with relatives and friends' karma, and we need to unlock the lock associated with society. Okay. How to unlock them? We are not a monk practicing the holy Dharma in remote mountains. We will use Diamond Sutra's oral pith instructions to resolve this. This is the cleverest and wisest way. What is it? It is not to abide in notions. Not abiding in notions. We will not abide in friends and relatives, karmic portfolios, nor will we abide in society's karmic portfolio. This is called not abiding in notions. You may say that as Dharma practitioners, we should still be compassionate with Bodhisattva. It is wrong to ignore world affairs and only care about yourselves. You are being selfish. This is not right. What should we do? Then we need to use Diamond Sutra's second oral pith instruction. You must remember. What are friends and relatives' karma? It is a knot that can never be untied. What is the society's collective karma? It is a knot that can never be untied. You do not know whether you can untie your own dead knot, let alone deal with the former two. These two are dead knots. The one of yours could be untied. There is still a chance to untie it. You should not touch dead knots. Deal with the knots that could be untied first. How can we not be told of being without Bodhisattva? It is to use Diamond Sutra's second oral pith instructions, not to abide anywhere to develop one's mind. How to not to abide anywhere to develop one's mind. It is not to be attached to friends and relatives' karma, nor to the society's collective karma, including our own personal karma, that we will not be attached to all of them. However, we will come up with a mind. The mind is that awareness. This awareness, we use the awareness to adjust. How to adjust? How to modify our own personal, karmic portfolio? Firstly, it is to use repentance. As I said, it is easier to adjust your personal karmic portfolio, because you have autonomous ability. You can reduce the entanglement of karma via repentance. But can you ask your relatives and friends to repent? Can you ask the whole society to repent for the powerful deluge of collective karma? Can you ask them to repent? It is impossible. You cannot persuade them. That is, they are pulled by the karmic force. Yes. If you hold on to the pulling force, you will all fall to the bottom of the water. In other words, friends, relatives, and society's karma are like dead knots that cannot be untied. You should not put your focus on it anymore. We should only focus on resolving our own knots created by ourselves. We have the autonomous ability. What should we do? Repent. You must have this kind of awareness. You must remember to have this kind of awareness. The focus cannot be misplaced. Okay, where should your focus be? You should cultivate a mind training method that is like prescribing the correct medicines for the illness. It is to cultivate your mind. It is not to cultivate ourselves into a form through going for empowerment. Let's practice empowerment with dozens of empowerments conferred on us, including those of Great Vajra and the Yamantika deity. We have all of them. All those empowerments related to Dharma protectors and the Vajravarahi methods are conferred on us. We have practiced all their Dharma practice rituals and recited all their mantras. Those are called the Dharma practice with forms, not real mind training methods, and they cannot help us. These empowerments and related Dharma practices are not helping you like prescribing the correct medicines for the illness. Then how can we help ourselves like prescribing the correct medicines for the illness? Why are there so many empowerments and Dharma methods in this world? These are just collateral branches. They assist you in cultivating your mind well, not the main character. In short, they play a supporting role. Who is the main character? It is your mind. What should we practice exactly? To have and improve your awareness. Once our awareness is improved, we can cultivate successfully the perfect enlightenment. Then, we can use some of these side branch methods to help us. That is possible. In other words, we use chopsticks to eat. But the main part is to eat. If we only look at chopsticks and we cannot eat without chopsticks, then we do not need to eat. You will never be full, and the same goes for Dharma practice. It is all about finding the right medicine for the illness. To train your mind, the mind is the main character. Elevate your awareness, and you must have this kind of awareness. If you fail to train your mind well, any visualization method of forms you practice is useless. It will not help no matter how many mantras you recite. Moreover, you need to plant merits. What kind of merit should you plant? It is corresponding, huge versus huge, and endless versus endless merit. The Lord Buddha Shakyamuni has demonstrated to you. The levels of merit we plant must be broad, and the ancillary strength involved must be strong. You must have this kind of awareness. Okay. Let's carry on. The Lord Buddha Shakyamuni went to the heavenly realms at each level to explain the holy Dharma. These sentient beings in the heavenly realms have great abilities at different levels. We are talking about teaching the holy Dharma. You can guess. Is it more powerful to teach the animals in the realm of animals, or the sentient beings in the heavenly realms? Once the sentient beings in the heavenly realms have understood the holy Dharma, they would help spread the holy Dharma vigorously. Do you think it is more powerful for them to spread the holy Dharma, or the sentient beings in the realm of animals? As sentient beings in the heavenly realms have a higher level of wisdom, they can understand what you say. It would not be so easy for those in the realm of animals. In addition, if it is the realm of animals, the energy exerted is not that significant. But sentient beings in the heavenly realms all have great abilities, at least greater than those in the human realm. Okay. Now the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni was going to different heavenly realms to speak to sentient beings at different levels. Wasn't the consolidated energy generated from it huge? The merit of helping them escape from samsara would be greater. The merit accumulated would be greater according to their own energy. As such, the merit planted by the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni would be enormous. It would be helpful if we pooled the energy of these merits to resolve the huge resentment. This kind of correspondence is called huge to huge. An example is the smoke offering, as the object of the offering involves the most powerful Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Dakinis, Dakinis, Dharma protectors, and the Nagas and the 8 races of non-human entities in the spiritual realm. It is not only for the sentient beings in the spiritual world, but also helps sentient beings in realms of hungry ghosts and realms of hells to relieve their grievances. If you dedicate these merits to your relatives, friends, and the collective karma of the society you care about, then you will not only cultivate your own bodhicitta, but also help them reduce their negative karma while helping ourselves to accumulate greater good karma. Do you think that this is a very wise approach? We are not saying that because we have untied the button on our body and we have also untied the button of the collective karma of our relatives and friends, then without being buckled by them, we are not abiding in their karma. We have also untied the button that society's collective karma has fastened on us, then we are not abiding in their collective karma. It is like this then, where has our bodhicitta gone? What is called not to abide anywhere? Unbuttoning is called not to abide anywhere, right? What is to develop one's mind? We want to develop a kind of awareness, that is, to rescue them. We do not mean to give up on them after unbuttoning the button. This is not how we understand it. We are only not clinging to these things, but we still have a mind, have an awareness to help them. So, how should we help them? The karma they are involved in is so great. How can we be able to help them? It is to make smoke offerings, with huge versus huge and endless versus endless. Your smoke offering, as clearly stated in the Golden Light Sutra. You can look it up on the internet. Even if you only use a small incense burner, you can make offerings to the entire heavenly realm. How is it? It is to use your visualization ability. We cannot visualize. Unable to visualize just means the visualization power is a little bit weak only. It does not mean that the smoke cannot reach the heavenly realms. It can still reach there. As long as it is in our mind that these smokes are for the heavenly beings at all levels of heavenly realms and to the whole spiritual world, disregarding they are sentient beings of realms of animals, hells, and hungry ghosts, we make offerings to all of them. As long as your mind thinks like this, those smokes will be able to get there. This is said in the Golden Light Sutra, not by me. It is stated in the sutra. You can go and read the sutra. So, you must remember that doing this is to develop one's mind and to come up with an awareness. We have not given up on them just because we have unbuttoned the button on us. We have not given up on them just because we do not abide in notions. We will still rescue them. Then, we will not be dragged to the bottom of the water by them. On the contrary, we can help them and pull them up from the bottom of the sea. This is called not to abide anywhere to develop one's mind. In fact, this huge versus huge is a principle of the law of causes and effects. Once you have known this, if you get to know the characteristics of the law of causes and effects, you will understand many things. So, the way we do not abide in notions is to accumulate a huge amount of good karma, and then dedicate these merits to all sentient beings in need. This is one of the main points of planting merits. Remember this point. If, through our personal karma, we plant such huge, virtuous karma, we do not only help other sentient beings, but also help ourselves at the same time. We call it for the benefit of oneself and also benefit others. This is it. Because with a huge virtuous karma, you will have huge buoyancy which helps you float to the surface. Therefore, our goal is to get to the surface of the water so that we can broaden our horizons. Because our awareness ability is enhanced, we are able to be broad. The second is light, which improves our awareness, so that we will not get lost, and then have the opportunity to practice the holy Dharma until we can escape from samsara, or attain Buddhahood. Therefore, the first thing to remember is to focus on improving the awareness of personal karma. This is to cultivate your mind. In addition, we need to extensively plant virtuous karma with the bodhicitta, that does not abide in anywhere, without any attachment, to cultivate virtuous karma widely, and improve the awareness of our bodhicitta. That is what we have to do. Another awareness that you must have is that the focus should not be on the collective karma of relatives, friends, and society. Must we be separated from all our friends and relatives when we practice the holy Dharma in the sea of black karma? If our relatives and friends oppose us to study Buddhism, should we avoid them, or stay away from these relatives and friends? Let me give an example. This is an example that has just happened. I have a disciple who just attended the last Upavasata event on the 9th of February through live broadcast. We recited precepts through live broadcast due to the pandemic. It is not held at the association. All disciples stay at home to watch live broadcasts. The Upasasata took place in the form of the live broadcast. As you know, we would not only recite the precepts, but would definitely teach the Buddhist holy Dharma and explain some Buddhist sutras to our disciples. After hearing the teaching, as I just said, you cannot reply defiantly to the elderly. You can only explain it slowly with reason and respect. Otherwise, you will violate the precepts. After he listened to my explanation, he immediately wrote me an email to repent to the Guru. He said, "Oh, my mother's birthday is coming. Today is the 16th. The 18th, in 2 days, will be my mother's birthday, which is also the fasting day. So, I went to have tea with my mother 5 days in advance to celebrate. Then my mother asked me, 'Why don't you come on my birthday? You don't come with me to have seafood with relatives and friends.' I answered her that it was the fasting day. Later, my mother asked, 'Why do your wife and children, her grandchildren, also not come? Forget it if it is only you who don't come. Why don't your wife and children come?' My disciple replied, 'I don't allow them to go.' He continued to tell his mother, 'You know that eating seafood is the same as killing, which is not good for you and your family. Why do you have to eat them?' His mother was furious and asked, 'It's fine if you don't come. Are you trying to teach me a lesson? It's fine if you don't come. Why don't you allow your wife and my grandson to come? How can your Dharma practice make you so foolish?' She asked him like this. Her accusations were quite serious. So, my disciple was very angry. 'You said that my Dharma practice made me foolish. Have you made a mistake?' He retorted angrily, 'Killing is not good. You are often ill because you are having your retributions. It is all because you often slaughter chickens.' He said, 'That is why your health is starting to go bad. If you continue to kill, no matter how many good deeds I do, there are not enough merits to be dedicated to you. It will be a waste.' You can imagine how angry his mother would be. So his mother was furious and said something very serious. 'I don't want you to do any merit to dedicate to me from now on. I don't want it. You don't do what I ask you to do, but you're so obedient if it's your guru who asks you to do. The guru means the two of us. That is the point.' After hearing what was said, he immediately bid farewell to his parents. He said goodbye and he had to leave first to his parents. He said, 'Why? It is because I do not know what my mother would say next. If she continued to curse the two gurus, what should I do? This would make my mother continue to have an angry heart. That was not good for her. I had to go right away.' He said his goodbye and departed. He withdrew immediately. This disciple then wrote us a letter expressing his repentance. He said, 'I will try my best to stay calm in the future. I must calmly endure. I must remain calm and enduring. I need to endure. I have already said to our disciples, when did I ever ask you to endure? I told you to use wisdom to resolve things. I did not tell you to keep on enduring. While the mind is not opened, likely confused by inner greed, hatred, and ignorance, your mind cannot be enlightened and clear. When you have not resolved your own dead knot, you will continue to quarrel with your mother in the future. Suddenly, your mother may again say something that will hit the nail on the head. You will scold your mother again. This is not a long-term solution to make peace, nor is it the real focus and method of Dharma practice. He said, I need to calmly endure. I have to calmly stay in a state of endurance. But he told me that he might not be able to do it in a short period of time. He knew that he could not bear it. He was aware of his fiery temper. He hoped that his two gurus could forgive him. Please forgive me, he pleaded. I wrote back to him, and I explained it to him. I had been busy, but still wrote back to him immediately. Why? Because I felt something was not all right. I want to prevent a family conflict from arising, and I must resolve the situation quickly. So, I wrote back to him and asked him to remember two things. Firstly, we must be filial to our parents, and we must take care of the elderly. It is crucial to keep these 2 points and principles in mind. You must remember them. For instance, you may wonder, Master, you want me to be filial to my parents. In this case, Master, if my parents slaughter a chicken and offer to me to eat, should I eat it? She went to the restaurant and slaughtered large amount of seafood for a banquet, with dozens of tables. Do I listen to her after seeing her slaughtered a dozen pieces of seafood? How should I take care of the elderly? Should I tell her that slaughtering seafood is good? Should I tell her, you slaughtered and ate so many chickens is great? Should I say it like this? I have not taught you to do that. I ask you to be filial and caring with wisdom. I will teach you now. If you use the mind training procedure to deal with this incident, what should you do? Firstly, you must accept. How to accept? Now my mother wants me to go to her birthday party and kill all the seafood to eat. Do you want me to eat it together? Do you want me to take my wife and children with me? Yes. Now I teach him 2 methods. One method is what he has already done. The first method is that you celebrate her birthday a few days in advance, but you need to say a few things to her first. You need to look after your mother. First, since you will be absent from her birthday party, you must buy her some of her favorite things, no matter how expensive they may be. Firstly, the gift should be something she likes the most, and secondly, the gift should be a bit more expensive to make her feel that you are sincere and value her very much. It shows her that you care about this solution, because you value her. She probably would not care how much money you spend, but she feels that you value her greatly and that you buy these precious things for her. Although she may not like the gift you give her, she will appreciate your sincerity. You can buy a gift that she likes very much and is precious. There may be many kinds of things she likes. It could be melon seeds. However, you would not just give her a bag of melon seeds, would you? On the other hand, she also loves ginseng, so you can buy a pack of ginseng for her, as it is precious. Right? You buy some things that she likes and appreciates with practical value, things that she thinks are valuable, and those you do not often buy her but you still buy for her. Then, you sit down and tell her slowly. Mother, I know I let you down. I can't come to your birthday. I feel really bad about it, and I really wish I could come. Do you know that your birthday is such an important day? I really want to come, but I cannot come. I hope, because you love me very much, that you will make it easier for me. That day is the fasting day for me. I'm afraid of causing embarrassment, as there will be lots of seafood killed and eaten. But I will not eat this seafood, but I cannot stop you from eating it. However, I love you very much, just like you love me. Since I don't want to eat, I don't want you to eat, or see you eat as well. I can't help, but there's no other way. You know of course that I'm not as wise as you, Mother. The methods Mother comes up with are always better, and you always help me. How about you help me? I will be absent that day, so I am here to make up for your birthday. Don't you know that it's better for us, mother and son, to sit down and have a chat to celebrate your birthday? If it's a large group of people sitting here, and I want to say a few words about how much I love my mother, how much I respect you, and how grateful I am for your upbringing, I can't say it in depth, right? So, I choose to celebrate with you this way now. You won't be angry with me, will you? How can you be angry with such a tolerant heart of a mother? That is, you have to use your soft skills. These are called soft skills. These are called care. You are very filial. You have not ever disobeyed her. You have not scolded her. Have you made a mistake in right mind? You by eating so many chickens. Have you made a mistake by eating so much seafood? When do you ever challenge her authority? No. You have not challenged her habits, have you? She does not understand the Buddhist holy Dharma. Even if you explain it to her, she would not understand. I am not imposing the principles onto her, am I? Will this method work? Will it be easy to succeed? So, let me give another example. I assume you have failed. Your mother slipped the table and said you were a jerk. Do you think you could convince me by using ginseng? No. I insist you go and celebrate with relatives, friends and me. Otherwise, how do I explain to my relatives and friends? What if none of your whole family are here and your uncles and aunts ask, where is your son? Where is your daughter-in-law? Where is your grandson? How can they be so unfilial? Why didn't they come, even it's your birthday? I really can't stand what they are doing. The more they say, the angrier your mother would be. As you know, it is not good to be angry on a birthday. It is a bad sign. So, you have to use the second method, and I taught him the second method. The second method is to be filial to her. She wants you to go, so you go. You take the whole family with you to attend the event happily. What is the method I teach you? It is to use wisdom. I taught them the prayer before meal. I said this is a whole set of visualizations. If you eat their flesh and you have no way of resolving their hardships, some sentient beings will have hatred. Of course, it must not be those you order to kill. If those sentient beings are you pointing at and ordering them to be killed, then this is absolutely not allowed. If you have not asked them to be killed and comply with the principle of 3 pure meats, then when you sit here and eat these meats, you need to use the prayer before meal that we have taught you. This prayer contains more than simply reciting a few verses, but also visualizations to help those sentient beings liberated from their animal bodies. This prayer has the same function as the life-releasing ritual that we taught during life-releasing Dharma event. This function is also an intensive one and must be done before each meal, not just during the life-releasing. I said, you use this practice method that I taught you and attend the event as usual. I said, you can help those sentient beings by giving them a name as the whole group, for example, all sentient beings that are eaten and killed. That is, the sentient beings that you have eaten and killed in the past, or the sentient beings that you have killed and eaten now. You help them by giving them a name, such as group of compassion, or group of bodhisattva. These names are also okay. You can give them a name that relates to holy Dharma so that when you dedicate merits in the future, you can dedicate it to this group. This is equivalent to dedicating to all the sentient beings that were eaten. I said, you sit in the banquet. Since it is a fasting day, you do not have to eat. In case a relative or friend asks you, you should have prepared with your mother. Say this to your mother, I will be there to make you happy. We will definitely be there to celebrate your birthday, but we will not eat. I hope you don't mind. Just use some of the caring methods I mentioned earlier. Buy a pack of ginseng to convince her. That should be fine. You will be there and you have bought the ginseng. Is it not enough to convince her? It should be. Do you really think that your mother is that unreasonable? She will understand. How could she scold you and say those things if she does not understand? She understands. This way, you can participate in the celebration while you will not contradict your Dharma practice. You can help sentient beings liberate from their animal bodies. You can also dedicate merit to your mother. Today is my mother's birthday. Although I do not eat the meat you offer to me, I am very grateful to you. I hope you can liberate from your animal bodies by offering your flesh. I now practice this prayer before meal and help you by using visualization. This prayer with visualization can let you liberate from your animal bodies. I will dedicate the merits of all my Dharma practice to your group. When I call this group of compassion from now on, you have to know that I am calling you, and I will dedicate the merits to you. You must remember to receive these merits. Please do not resent my mother, my relatives, and my friends, because they do not understand the holy Dharma. They do not know how to practice these methods to help you. Please do not blame them. Let me be responsible and practice these methods to help you. I will dedicate all the merits to you. There is only gratitude and no resentment between us. If you can liberate from these animal bodies, it will definitely help you the most. In the future, you will not be slaughtered or killed by people life after life, and there will be no more suffering. I will ask all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas to help you. This way. If you can do this, it will be the best. While you can be filial to your parents by attending her birthday party, you can also take care of your mother. She will no longer have an opinion about your Dharma practice. Otherwise, she will definitely curse you every time she sees you in the future. Why have you come to see me? Go see your two masters. The two of them are the most noble. When they ask you not to come to my birthday, you don't come. You can't come if it's a fasting day. I don't know if you have been taught to curse your own mother and say, "Mother, you are ill." Everyone gets sick. Even the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni had illness. Would you point at the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni and say, "Not sure what you did in your previous life, so now you are ill with lower back pain"? You cannot say this. How can you scold the relatives you respect like this? Even if they are not your respected relatives, but any one of the sentient beings, you should not scold them like this. All sentient beings must be respected. So, I taught my disciple these two methods. I again taught him that firstly you must accept, and accept by using wisdom. Accept does not mean that you follow your mother's instruction to slaughter a chicken, or a duck if she asks you to. It is not accepting like this. It is to accept with wisdom. There are many ways to accept. You must not misunderstand it. There is a lot of learning about the acceptance of the mind training procedure. I plan to explain it in later lectures of the Compassion series. Why have I chosen to talk about it in this lecture? It is very simple. Because I cannot see you in person at the association. I have to speak to you through the live broadcast. If I only talk for 2 hours, I fear that what I say may not be detailed enough and you may not be pleased. So, I talk more today. This is what I have added. I should have stopped after the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni's case earlier. I deliberately added this case. It is an apology for not being able to see you in person coming to listen to the Holy Dharma. So, I added this section. Originally I planned to talk about cases of daily life, after I finished all the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni's cases. I explain what acceptance is and what questioning is in a little deeper, because both require wisdom and skills. Let's continue now. As for questioning, you have to ask yourself, why do I have this hatred towards my own parents? Why? Why am I furious? You are her son, and you are one level lower than her. She has the gratitude of nurturing you. Do you know that the gratitude for nurturing is enormous? She also has the gratitude of giving birth to me. Do you know that the gratitude for giving birth to you is immense? With such a great benefactor standing right in front of you, how can you scold her for such a trivial matter? Is she beating you? Is she not letting you eat? She is not being mean to you. She raised you and has such great gratitude and kindness to you, but you scold her for such a trivial matter. You have to think about it. Why do you do this? Are you seizing on an incident to exaggerate matters? Or, did she make you angry about something before which you could not show your anger, and now you are taking this opportunity to erupt? You have to think about it. You should analyze your inner world. Should I visit my mother or other people to understand more about their feelings and opinions? When you visit your mother, you will find out her thinking. In fact, your mother may not be against your Buddhist learning, but only against your stubbornness and disrespect for her. That is, it is all about not respecting her. She may feel like this only. You have to understand and analyze. What do you analyze? Do you think that you are the most reasonable? Do you know? Some people kill, set fire, curse people, and show no courtesy to their seniors based on a little reason. They dare to do anything. He thinks that he holds the strongest reason. He believes that his reason is on the side of the moral high ground, and he can do anything. In fact, this is wrong. All the moral high ground and your reasoning are merely justifications to reinforce you for doing something. It does not mean you can do everything. You still have to do what you should and can do. It does not mean that you can do everything. It does not mean that you can scold your mother, or even scold your guru. Master, I have finally found your fault. No one dares to scold you. Now I can scold you for this. I saw you just threw a piece of paper on the floor. You littered. You are a litterbug. Master, I can scold you now. How happy I am. No one dares to scold the guru. I can now. Ha ha. You cannot use this way to discharge your greed, hatred, and ignorance. That is, no matter how strong your reasoning is, it is not enough to become a pillar on which you can do anything arbitrarily. You must remember this statement. Many people are like this. Let me give an example. It is like the great doctor and great wrestler mentioned in the last 2 lectures. The great wrestler thinks, you lied to me. You did not give me the money. Okay, I shall kill you. So, the great wrestler killed that person. It is also like that great doctor. It's outrageous. I've treated your illness so many times. You lied to me each time, and didn't give me money. Let me treat you to death, then you have no way to avenge. These are all using the same principle. That is, as long as I feel that my reason is strong, because you lie to me, you owe me. So, I can kill you. I can do anything. My disciple is like this now. It is a fasting day. I have a strong reason not to eat seafood, and not to allow my wife and children to come. I am having tea, and celebrating with you now. Why are you still scolding me? Then, I will have a row with you. Let's find something to curse each other. What am I looking for to scold you? You are in such poor health now, all because you eat chicken. Because I have a reason, I can scold you. I can tell you. This is not allowed. It will violate the precepts. This disciple knew it. He knew that he had violated the precepts. He heard what I explained during the Upavasata, that we should respect all sentient beings. I tell you, it is not because I am a guru, so you have to respect me. Or someone is an elder, so you have to respect him. You have to respect every single sentient being. Otherwise, you cannot integrate into the Dharma realm. You must be equal to all sentient beings and respect them. Only then can you have the opportunity to integrate into the Dharma realm, and only then can you arouse this kind of awareness, the awareness of perfect enlightenment without deviation. In other words, this disciple needs to learn to respect. You cannot think that because you have a strong reason, so you discard things such as respect. You also need to review yourself and analyze yourself. Do you consider your reason to be the strongest, so that you can ignore your parents' feelings? Is your reason more important, or the feelings of other sentient beings? You have to find out what the truth is. Is the truth invincible in the world, or are the feelings of all sentient beings invincible in the world? In fact, neither is the case. We must adopt balance and rationale to analyze, and we must not bias towards any side. Should the focus be placed on the reason or the feelings between people? You have to think clearly. Parents also have strong reasons. Why have I not thought about their reasoning? Their reasoning is like this. His mother said angrily, "I don't want you to dedicate any merit to me from now on. I don't want these merits." Why? Because she was already very angry. She thinks that your so-called merits for her are all based on your likes and dislikes, and what you think she is right or wrong. They are not based on her likes and dislikes, and how she feels right or wrong. You have not balanced this matter. You only care about your reasoning, but you do not care about her reasoning. She reasons that as a parent, she has raised you and worked hard physically and mentally. She spent so much energy, time, and money to raise you. Her gratitude and kindness to you is incomparable. You now have a guru, who she does not even know. How dare you think what he says is better than hers? Your guru's gratitude and kindness are greater than hers. You ignore her for the reason learned from your gurus and plan not to come to her birthday. You know what? Your parents must be furious. Sometimes parents may scold their children by saying, "It's better to give birth to a barbecued pork than you." On the level of interest, barbecued pork is at least eatable. Parents have to sacrifice so much by giving birth to you. She feels that she has sacrificed too much, but received the opposite results. Not just small, but the opposite. You are listening to others and not listening to me. Of course, she would be angry. You respect others, but you do not respect her. Of course, your mother is angry. If you tell the master about this, the master will also say that you are wrong. The master has not agreed with you. Why? The master teach you to respect all people. You do not even know how to respect your parents. How can you know how to respect other people? You must respect her. How to respect her? I taught it just now. You must respect her. You must not let your mother focus on the guru, and then oppose you to study Buddhism in the future. This is a very serious matter. It is very bad, because she will always resist practicing the Buddhist holy Dharma. It is the same as harming your mother, and not giving her a chance to survive. It is not good. So, we must remember to analyze and search for the root. Where is the root? Subjective reason is superior to everything. He can do anything that he deems to be correct. This is his root. His root is that I subjectively use my greed, hatred, and ignorance to judge what I am doing now to be correct. So, I can scold you now. I saw you often eating chicken previously, so you have poor health now. I subjectively think that you are not in good health because of this. So, I can scold you. Actually, this is very subjective. Why? The Lord Buddha Shakyamuni had headaches and back pains when he did not eat chicken. So, what do you subjectively think it was? It is better for the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni to tell you personally. You cannot judge so quickly. Maybe it has nothing to do with eating chicken. Maybe it is because of the grievances he had with somebody in one of his past lives. That is why he is ill now. Who is the debt collector upon the door? Is it the chicken creditor, or another creditor? How do you know? Why are you so subjective to insist on the connection between the two? This is already biased. It does not mean that you are absolutely wrong, but there is a bias. We cannot be so subjective. Subjective. What is a subjective principle? It is to add one's own greed, hatred, and ignorance to make judgments. Secondly, it is called subjective when the judgment has been made without considering all the environmental factors and reasons. You should be objective. What is called objective? It means that I must respect the opinions raised by everyone. I do not put my personal greed, hatred, and ignorance into the judgment. I strive to be objective and balanced in my analysis by collecting more environmental factors, as well as various opinions of other people. Judgments are then made after a comprehensive analysis. This is called judging objectively. If you judge subjectively, you will be like the great doctor and the great wrestler, as I mentioned in the previous lectures. You would just go and kill people. Therefore, we need to learn the methods of treatment. After finding the root, we need to treat it. Treatment is that you must learn to respect and observe the precepts. The precept requires you to respect your elders. How can you scold your mother? That is not allowed. You have to examine the truth objectively, and should have a bottom line. What is called a bottom line? This really needs to be taught. Let's teach something about the bottom line first. The bottom line is that you cannot let anything prevent you from continuing to learn the Buddhist holy Dharma. This is your bottom line. If you cannot learn the Buddhist holy Dharma, for whatever reason, you will lose your chance of survival. You will sink into the bottom of the black karma sea, the same for your family members. This is hugging and dying together. So, the bottom line is that you cannot stop learning the Buddhist holy Dharma because of your mother's objection. What if she pays no attention to your reasoning, your care for her does not work, and nothing else works? In short, she insists on going her own way. If you continue to learn the Buddhist holy Dharma, and if you continue to listen to what your guru says, and not to her, she will divorce you, in case this is your wife, or she will cut off the mother-son relationship with you and declare this in a newspaper. No matter what method she uses, you can only persuade her tactically instead of fighting against her head-to-head. It is to use your wisdom to slowly resolve this knot, bit by bit. You cannot confront the tough with toughness. We would also use the method of avoiding and staying away from her, so as not to have a violent collision with her directly, which is not allowed. We need to use some wisdom to resolve it. Wisdom has many kinds. We will talk about them later. In short, remember one thing. There should be a bottom line. The bottom line is that I cannot break the precepts because of my mother, my closest relatives, my wife or anything, and disobey the guru's instructions. Of course, they have to be reasonable instructions. And again, stop learning the Buddhist holy Dharma as a result. Of course, no longer learning the Buddhist holy Dharma is a dead end. It is not necessarily a dead end if you cannot follow this guru. You can follow another one. If this master says, "Hurry up and help me start a branch," without your help, I will not be able to go there to propagate the holy Dharma, and I will not be able to help sentient beings over there. If you ever said yes, but did not do it later, this is called breaking the precepts, right? You disagree. The wife says that if you are to help set up a branch over there, she would divorce you. I do not know if your wife is reasonable, but the thing is that you must have a bottom line. You must slowly use your wisdom to analyze and come up with a solution. You cannot go obstinately on your own way. I'm like this. I just don't want to listen to what the guru says. This will lead to one result, that is, you have to find another guru. If you think your guru is unreasonable, you should find another guru. If you think your guru is reasonable, he is propagating the true holy Dharma, and what he asks you to do is not excessive, then you must help him to propagate the holy Dharma. Otherwise, you will have to find another guru. This is your own choice. For these choices, do not blame others. You have to blame yourself for not having enough wisdom, right? I can only teach you slowly what wisdom is. So, we must remember that there must be a bottom line, and we must achieve, not to abide anywhere to develop one's mind. Do not be held back and attached by anything. It does not mean that you should ignore the relationship between husband and wife, nor the relationship between parents, father and son or mother and son, none of them. It is not to be attached by these, not to let them impede you from learning the Buddhist holy Dharma. You have to come up with a mind of wisdom, to resolve these obstacles. In short, the bottom line is that you should not be prevented from learning the Buddhist holy Dharma because of these obstacles. If the conflict is between your guru, your wife and your mother, then you have to think carefully. For example, if my disciple's mother later said, "Unless you leave these two masters, you should never step into my door. I no longer want to see you." This is the end of our mother-son relationship. Take this as an example. This is your bottom line. You have to adopt a curved approach. How is a curved approach? Go to find this relative who is most persuasive, who would convince your mother to give up the idea, or you will have to find another guru. If she persuades you not to learn the Buddhist holy Dharma in the future, this cannot be compromised, because both you and your mother will lose the chance to survive. To keep a chance to survive, you must not let go of this bottom line. Whether it is the gurus or the disciple, both have a bottom line. Are these bottom lines a kind of attachment? It depends on the situation. In short, to achieve, not to abide anywhere to develop one's mind is most important. Okay. Let's explain two more questions. First, the flesh is a fragile material after all. How could the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni fly from the earth to the heavens of the form realm? Was it his spiritual body, or was it his physical body that ascended to the heavenly realms? In reality, ordinary people enter the heavenly realms through entering a meditational state. They use the mental consciousness of their spiritual body to ascend to the heavenly realms. They have no way to use their physical bodies to ascend to the heavenly realms. It is impossible. However, according to the Buddhist Sutra, the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni did not ascend to heavenly realms with his spiritual body this time. It is because the sutra states that the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni went up directly. It does not mention the action of entering the meditation state. If you look at other sutras, if the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni used the form of entering meditation state to do certain things, they will describe what kind of meditation state the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni entered at that time. There will be a name such as Vajra meditation, or another meditative state. Does the sutra say that? If it does not say it, then it means that the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni flew up to 7 feet in the sky. He did this action directly. That is, he flew up with his physical body. Only the Buddha can do it. The Buddha needs to use his energy to wrap himself and fly up. Therefore, the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni activated the energy of his mind. This energy wrapped his own body, and he slowly ascended to the heavenly realms. Since a Buddha has the ability to activate this energy, there is no problem in ascending to the lowest levels of the heavenly realms. It is okay for the Buddha to get to the lowest level of the heavens of the form realm. But there should be problems for him to go any higher, because it is impossible. It would be impossible to go further when the substances become sparser and the pressure is higher. So, when the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni reached that level, he started to descend. He did not continue to ascend. The third question, why could the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni resist the high pressure of outer space, but not withstand the small piece of wooden spear. I have already explained it in the last 2 lectures. The Buddha told King Ajaya. He said that all the dharmas are destructed according to conditions. They correspond to causes and conditions. My body, a Vajra body, cannot be damaged by a wooden spear, that is, my body has reached the state of perfect enlightenment. My Vajra body is the Dharma body of perfect enlightenment, which cannot be harmed by the wooden spear. However, it can be destroyed in correspondence to past conditions. In other words, the causes and conditions of countless past lives can damage my physical body. This is because the text of the sutra is not written clearly, which results in a very contradictory statement. But we must pay attention to destruction in correspondence to past conditions. It is the truth. The correspondence of cause and condition of past lifetimes will destroy anything in a dualistic or multiplistic state. Everything can be destroyed by corresponding and countless past lifetimes, causes and conditions. Although the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni had attained Buddhahood, the Vajra indestructible body refers to the Dharma body of perfect enlightenment. Everything else, the body composed of substances in the dualistic or multiplistic state can, in fact, be destroyed by corresponding causes and conditions planted in past lifetimes. This phenomenon is inevitable. After the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni attained Buddhahood, and because to save sentient beings, he did not immediately enter the Dharma realm's state of oneness. He stayed in the world with a physical body in a dualistic and multiplistic state. So, he must continue to pay off the debts that had not paid off. Even after he attained Buddhahood and possessed great supernatural powers, there was no way to confront the corresponding causes and conditions of countless past lifetimes. Therefore, the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni was harmed by this piece of wood. Even though the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni could use the energy of the holy Dharma to compete with the negative energy of this small piece of wood, or even ask all Buddhas to help, let's tug a war. When rising to the lowest level of the heavens of the form realm, the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni measured the negative energy of this small piece of wood accurately. In fact, it could not be underestimated. The damage could only be avoided by entering the Dharma realm's state of oneness, or the 5 heavens of no returning, which is the highest 5 levels of the heavens of the form realm. That is, there is no use even if you asked all the Buddhas to help you in tug-of-war, because the Buddhas you can call are those in the dualistic or multiplistic state. Otherwise, how could they manifest themselves to help you? This is impossible. But if you do this, if you really want to do it, just like if the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni said, I'll go back to the state of oneness. I don't want to be stabbed in the foot by it. Then, it means that he would have to destroy his physical body so that the small piece of wood could no longer carry on chasing him. It means that he would have to commit suicide, but suicide is a violation of the precepts. So, the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni would not do it. Moreover, the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni hoped he could continue to stay in the human realm and continue to propagate the Buddhist Dharma to save sentient beings. So he chose to face it, accept this small piece of wood to seek revenge, and endure the unbearable pain. The Lord Buddha Shakyamuni could wrap his own body with energy and ascend to the heavens of the form realm. But this was only temporary. He could not wrap himself for a long time to avoid the wooden block stabbing him. This method would not solve the problem. It could only delay it, and would only allow the wooden block to increase the negative energy in the parallel world. This would make things worse and hurt innocent people. So, he did not want to do this. Also, he would have to use the kind of energy to enter the top 5 levels of the heavens of the form realm with his flesh body, so that he could avoid this piece of wood stabbing his foot. He also decided not to do this, because it was impossible, as he could not do it. One can escape the pursuit of any karma in the top 5 levels of the heavens of the form realm is a theory. That is, the structure in there is almost without any material existence. That is why one can escape from the karmic chasing. As a result, karma cannot make any connection with its target over there, and for this reason they cannot continue to track someone down. It means that most substances cannot exist in this state. Therefore, the thought of the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni to wrap his physical body with energy to get to the 5 heavens of non-returning was not achievable. Therefore, the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni ascended to the Brahma, the lowest level of the heavens of the form realm, and stopped. This is one of the reasons. Was the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni really thinking the same as the 4 heavenly kings and some other heavenly beings that he was afraid of this wooden spear? Of course not. The Lord Buddha Shakyamuni was not actually afraid of this piece of wood. He knew that the evil cause and the evil condition he had accumulated in his past lives had already successfully tracked down his existence and persistently sought revenge. The Lord Buddha Shakyamuni knew that his own Vajra body was the Dharma body of perfect enlightenment. Since he had attained Buddhahood, even if his physical body was damaged or wounded after being stabbed by it, it would not affect his awareness slightly. He could absolutely enter the state of oneness of the Dharma realm. Therefore, the main reason is that the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni did not want to leave sentient beings behind. He also did not want to give them a poor impression, thinking that I can commit suicide to destroy this physical body to enter the state of oneness. Then, I can avoid the pursuit and entanglement of karma. He did not want to leave a poor impression to this worldly realm. It would make them feel that it is possible to escape. Therefore, the Buddha adopted a most positive approach to show that suicide was not a solution to the problem. It would only increase the karma even more. This is one of the truths. Therefore, the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni did not destroy his own body to escape from this piece of wood. This is because it would have too great an impact on future generations. It would have a bad influence. The Lord Buddha Shakyamuni chose to take this opportunity to demonstrate this case, and this is called wisdom, right? That is, he did not choose to avoid it. He used wisdom to resolve the karma directly. He used a real case, a personal experience in teaching others, to solidly prove that everything is impermanent in the dualistic or multiplistic state of the 3 realms. Karma is unimaginably terrifying. Even Buddhas and anyone with great supernatural powers cannot escape. The Lord Buddha Shakyamuni had gone beyond and was not restricted by any worldly greed, hatred, and ignorance. He also had no problems repenting in public. He would not be afraid because of his reputation, status, or the respect he received from people. He also did not want anyone to see himself chased by the piece of wood. So, in the end, in order to save more sentient beings, the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni chose to disturb a large number of sentient beings in different realms, so that they could understand the truth about liberating from samsara. That is, you must liberate from samsara, and understand the truths of how the karmic force of causes and effects operates. So, he later chose to let all sentient beings see him chased by the wood. He would not refuse to be seen because of greed, hatred, and ignorance and settle this privately. He did not do this. This one is compassion as well as wisdom. That is it for today. If there are other questions to answer, they will have to be left until the next session. For example, if one day in a dream or under meditation, or even in daily life, as described in the real case of the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni, there is a kind goddess, and a vicious witch who both give us some information at the same time. Are we following their advice to pursue fortune and avoid disaster, or should we have some reservations? How do we apply the mind training procedure and use wisdom to resolve these questions? Similarly, in our real life, many people go to ask a spirit medium, fortune tellers, practice divination or physiognomy and so on. Should they listen or not to them or their advice, information, or guidance? If we listen, will we violate the precepts? In this case, we see more grudges between the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni and Devadatta from previous lives. Later, Devadatta became a disciple of the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni, and bestowed great favor of the Buddhist holy Dharma. Why could the long-standing feud not be resolved? What is the key point? In this case, how should we use Diamond Sutra's oral pith instructions to improve our own awareness? This is the most important. We will elaborate in the next lecture.